I am terribly sorry. I was recording footage literally up to 3:15 today. Don't give me this, Dark Xana. Hello. Shit. Didn't listen to it. Let's see. It would be this one. This one. Maybe this one. Yes. Did I surprise you with our lovely little surprise stream here? I gotta say that sub alert. I genuinely might actually use that. Subbing to me, that's totally ridiculous. All right, let's check on our compatriots. You're disappointed again? You're always disappointed. There is no pleasing Dark Xana. You live to be disappointed. Where would you be without my heresy? That is true. Oh, Lazy's having internet issues. Sad. I guess I could ping Cam. I don't think he's going to show up, though. He's definitely not going to show up. He's offline. Well, I guess I got to start this party myself. So, like I said, we're gonna begin with hard luck because it's Friday the 13th in 2020. Probably the unluckiest day in existence. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. There could maybe be a worse day. That is loud. That is less loud now.
Here we are going far to save all that we love.
Can you back up the channel and push the channel up here? Sorry, Hyper. We don't do fans. Fan sessions. There's. Take it from me, who has some very big friends who used to do a lot of reviewer raids for a game. It can become a slippery slope real fast. Once you let one person in, everybody wants in. And since we aren't affiliate and can't have subs and be like subs only. Yeah.
Hey, Odd, if you're trying to clean up the room, you better find another system.
There! That's what I was looking for. No, it's not. I don't want to be late for breakfast.
So you can steal an extra croissant?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
but also
Odd
to steal
was searching
Asra's heart.
for his fancy
Where are my shoes?
pants. They're the exact same as all his other
You just have to
pants.
follow the stink. You're pretty wound up today. You sure this morning is the best time?
Oh, yeah, she borrowed my pencil sharpener yesterday.
And?
Well, that's a sure sign that she's totally crazy about me. So today's the
Because
day.
we don't need you guys giving us money.
Oh. Oh, sorry about that.
I'm sorry for you. That means 7 years bad luck.
Ulrich, are you superstitious?
Well, yeah, aren't you?
Are you kidding? No, not a chance. Get real
Because
good,
A,
buddy. Four-leaf
we've
clovers,
maintained that
rabbits,
we're
feet,
not taking
horseshoes
money
are for
from
old
anyone.
ladies.
No matter how much you
In
want to
fact, I
offer
can feel
us
it.
money.
Today's gonna be my lucky day.
Delaruvia! I'll bet you think it's really funny filling my shoes with cottage cheese, huh? You just earned yourself 8 hours of detention!
But it wasn't me, Jim.
Well, if it wasn't you, then who was it?
Well, I'm not a snitch, Jim, but you might want to check out Nicholas and Herb.
Thanks for the tip. That's gonna cost you 4 hours of detention for selling out your classmates.
Can believe that?
I told you, Odd. 7 years bad luck.
Forget it. There's no such thing as bad luck.
Can you imagine a teacher
Sorry, Odd,
punishing
but I guess
you
you're
for
out of
being a
luck.
snitch?
Not even one croissant left, Rosa? What am I supposed to eat?
How about some dry toast?
No way. Okay, give me some hot chocolate to drown my sorrows in.
I can't do that, Odd. The machine is on the blink. Never happened before in all the years I've been working here.
Tea and dry
Odd,
toast,
having
Odd?
some
What are you, sick?
Bad luck.
No, not yet, but after I choke this down, I will be.
Okay, everyone. Here's the plan. You've got to return to the military base and destroy
It's not
Xana's
too quiet, is
supercomputer
it?
once and for all.
I just remembered
don't think
I
it should be too
modified
complicated.
my-
That is, as long as Xana
No, wait,
doesn't
no,
have
I
anything
modified the
new
game
up
on
his sleeve.
somehow.
Ezra! Let's have breakfast together.
So you can start drinking hot chocolate through your nose again?
No. And besides, the machine is busted. What I meant is, I want to learn to speak Turkish. Maybe you could give me lessons.
Do you mean it?
Sure I do.
Well, we can discuss it.
Great idea, Ezra. I can't wait to start.
Hey, why did you tell Jim on me? You're a snitch.
Not only that, but it was your idea to put cottage cheese in his sneakers, which was incredibly funny.
Yeah, Odd, you just wait. We're gonna get even with you for that someday. You'll see, you traitor.
I don't blame her. Boodala.
Brouhaha?
Dork, that's the word for numbskull. Well, Odd, I guess you just had your first Turkish lesson.
Also, wasn't it Budala, not Brouhaha?
Walking under a ladder is like asking for bad luck.
In Japan, people avoid anything to do with the number 4 because it sounds just like the word for death.
Did you know that the word rabbit is bad luck for sailors? So is filling salt when you're on a ship.
And I tell you that the only thing that'll bring you bad luck is talking to an odd about dumb superstition, because all you get is being laughed at.
You think you're smart, but I'll bet by the end of the day you'll be crossing streets to avoid black cats.
Okay, Odd and Yumi, you guys ready for teleportation?
Ready?
Isn't
And
there
here
a
we go.
Turkish dub
Energize,
for
Yumi.
Tokyo?
Energize, Odd.
Well, go on.
The writer, oh yeah, the writer's like, so Odd's having really bad luck.
Hey,
We're gonna
Jeremy, we've
stick
got a
with
slight
Yumi.
problem. Where's Odd?
He's still in his nav skid.
I don't get it. What did I do wrong?
I don't get it either. The teleportation failed for the first time.
I guess it's bad luck.
Ulrich, save your dumb jokes or you'll have the bad luck of being forced to eat 10 pounds of dry toast.
What?
What do we do
Am I the
now,
only one who
Jeremy?
feels like some of
You want me to
these
go?
lines are like at
No,
1 1/4
you've got plenty to
speed?
do dealing with the replica. The super scan has just picked up an activated tower. I'll send Ulrich.
Just say when.
Energize, Ulrich.
Hey,
Hey
Ulrich.
guys, couples mission.
Where's Odd?
Stuck on Lyoko. Disappointed.
No, I'm glad, in fact. He's really bad luck today. Ready?
Ready.
Watch your step. If a tower's been activated, you can be sure that Xana's planning to counterattack.
Odds Friday the
How
13th
about giving us the
is
coordinates so that we can go and deactivate
Ulrich's
it?
Friday the
Due
14th.
west from your present position.
Let's go!
As deserted as ever, huh?
That's good news.
Here we go. Here are your vehicles.
Jeremy, isn't Ailita getting in the overboard with me?
You know what? Seeing how your day's been going up to now, I'd rather you guys traveled separately.
You all are such lame-os. I tell you, everything's cool.
Did you see that, Jeremy? What's going on? I have no idea. I'll check it out. You guys get going.
Oh, Odd. My day was quite spiffing. I went and filled out paperwork for a new job. And then
Freight elevator over there. It'll take us
I
downstairs.
just got McDonald's. I'm munching on it now. 'Cause it's McDonald's.
By the
was
way,
yours,
Yumi,
Dark
I
Zara?
never asked you this. Which monsters do you like fighting the least of all?
The cankerlots. I really hate fighting against big bugs. Blah.
Yeah, right. What I hate most
I
are
really hate
megatanks.
fighting against big
How
bugs.
about
The Cankerlots.
Yeah, I know. You said that already.
No, I mean over there. Cankerlots.
You do realize the tarantula is an even bigger bug than the cankerlot. So Yumi said she hates fighting big bugs. And that's why she doesn't like the cankerlot. But the tarantula is a bug, and it's bigger. The hornets are bigger too.
Understand and send us few crabs.
The hornets are bigger.
I prefer hornets. Jeremy, do you read us?
Loud and clear. Anything wrong?
Yeah, we just found out why Xana
what
activated a
else is
tower.
bigger?
He's teleporting Cankerlots our way.
I'm on it. Aelita, Yumi and Ulrich have
See,
some
the-
visitors at the base.
The creepers
have to
and the
deactivate the
blocks
tower
are bigger,
fast.
but they aren't bugs.
I
So
can
they
see a
don't
canyon in the
count.
distance.
Gotcha.
Mantas don't
I'll
count
check the
either.
area and see if the tower is there.
The tower is in the
What
center of the
bug
canyon.
is the
Hurry up!
Colossus?
Okay.
Dark Xana.
You see that? Everything's cool. Superstition is for lamos. Fight's called. Ah!
You were saying?
Okay. Watch this. Laser arrows.
Dark Xana, we made the visual.
Piece of
I don't
cake.
need you to send it to me.
The coast is clear in front of us.
But not in back of us. Look.
I feel really like Yumi's fan.
What's poppin'?
Nice one, Ulrich.
We're about halfway
Let's
through
try to
Hard
buy
Luck,
some time.
Jeremy.
Good idea.
Yeah. You see, you have the worst luck of all because I'm
Jeremy,
here now.
What is it?
So,
Good news. It's getting rough here.
Hang in there. Aelita and Odd are almost at the tower.
alright,
do our
let me
thing.
just watch the stream.
Energy field.
Wavy was having internet troubles. I think I said that when I was muted. In hindsight, which is why you might not have heard it first time, Dark Xana.
Yeah. I was having internet trouble, but it looks like I'm good now. So now I am here.
Odd, are you okay?
Who said I was jinxed? Immediate.
It will be like that.
What's happening? You lost half your life
You know,
points
it's
just now.
funny. All my
It's that
bad luck
stupid
happened
bug again,
yesterday.
Jeremy.
Today has been pretty okay.
Anything fancy happened for you,
What's
Wavy?
going on?
Not particularly. I mean, I might have left my wallet at work, but otherwise,
That'll teach you to sat my friend down.
Yeah, I know, right?
Jeremy.
But otherwise, nah, yesterday was worse.
Okay,
Way
Aelita, make
worse.
it fast. Yumi and Ulrich have got a huge
I'm
bug
getting a new
problem.
job, though.
What
I
about
don't
the
know if I'm
program
gonna be
bug? You
there
know what's
very
causing
long.
it? No, not yet.
Oh
It might be
boy.
a virus or some maiden
me
Xana
put it
thing.
this
Whatever
way.
it is, we're not having
I have
any
to
luck
log
with it.
There's no such
every
thing as
interaction I
Dr.
have with another individual
Oh boy.
in a book.
Sounds well. I mean, I log everything that happens every single day because I'm a counted
That's
man.
exactly what I said the first time we came
So,
here.
It looks like some sort of factory assembly line.
No. Well, yeah, Wazy does pencil pushing.
Yeah, but what
no,
did they
Yeah.
assemble here?
I'm going to be manufacturing
We might
medical.
find that out in here. It looks like a control terminal.
Check it out, Yumi. Any info on Xana's tactics can come in handy.
Definitely for.
What's going on with the tower, Jeremy?
Aelita should be
medical equipment
deactivating
for
any
COVID,
minute now.
So. Moving to the front line,
our hero.
boys. Really?
We wouldn't be able to.
Dark Xana won't trust you with any money, Wazy.
I mean, that's fair. That's honestly fair.
Wazy goes into work every day. He's like, I can't believe these guys trust me to make these accounts right.
Oh no, believe me, I ask that question every single morning. I have fooled everyone into thinking that I'm actually good at things. So, yes, I am an accountant.
You're not gonna
But
give
the
up that easily, my friend.
dream is full-time writer, so this is... Accounting is temporary, writing is forever. That's the dream.
Guess I've got to go the rest of the way on foot.
It'll be just like old times.
You know, that animation was super jank. I don't know what that Aelita
Yeah.
thing was, but her
Yes,
eyes
Alita.
like...
Yeah.
I saw it. The bug seems to be having an effect on you too. Better deactivate the tower fast before you disappear. I'm going as fast as I can.
Got this, Aelita. You can do it.
Yeah, I read you.
Aelita can't deactivate the tower just yet. She's been affected by Odd's bug too.
Hey, it's not my bug,
It
okay?
is your bug.
Just my name for it until we figure out
It
exactly
is,
what's
yeah.
going on.
It better be, because I've got nothing to do with this mess, you hear? It's just a question of chance.
Did you say chance? What do you know? You're not becoming superstitious, are you?
I figured it out.
Well,
I think it's an assembly line for motherboards and electronic implants.
electronic implants, but for what?
To control those spiders, for example.
Do you mean those cybernetic creatures in the jungle lab?
Exactly what I mean.
I think they gave
Makes
me
sense.
extra chicken nuggets.
The big question is what Xana's planning to do with all of
Ooh,
it.
nice.
I wish I knew the answer.
I'm not in the U.S. What's
They
it?
gave me 12 chicken nuggets, guys.
I'm still, okay. I'm an accountant, but I am still, I'm still in the middle school. So, I happen to work. I'm very fortunate for that, but yeah, it's difficult.
You know, I like that Xana's just such a prank, such a jokester. He's like, oh, Yumi doesn't like tanks a lot. Here, have an army.
Right?
Thank you.
Every day is pick on Yumi week.
Anytime.
Every week. Sorry, every week is pick on Yumi week.
Head for the southernmost
Xana's
end
book.
of the room.
Okay,
I like how they
we're on
just
our way.
automatically know which direction that's supposed to be.
What about your end? What's the latest?
Yep,
Pretty bad news. William
Like,
just
almost
showed
like
up.
they're so used.
What if they do have a HUD? Then we just never know. Never knew it.
Ulrich Scouter is canon. So,
And if you ask me,
Oh,
it's not just
Tim.
a friendly visit. Jeremy, we're coming to the super calculator.
in a sense, my Dark Xana, my program
First, we've
is.
got to solve the William
It is a
problem.
college
I'd
thing,
love to.
but it's
Got any
also
suggestions?
We haven't
it's
any
different.
choice. One of you
It's
has to be
ACCA,
teleported
if you
back
know
to keep
that,
them from
but,
deactivating
yeah.
the skid tower.
Crazy.
Okay. What do we do?
What's up?
You want me to go or you?
We can always
Yep,
pay for
it's time.
Paper,
Paper,
scissors,
It's time.
rock. Scissors cut paper, don't they?
Get ready, William.
Paper,
We're good,
scissors,
Jeremy.
rock.
I'm the one who's going.
Yumi's so unamusing.
De-energize Yumi.
Good luck.
It's like he's sick and tired of dealing with William's bad boy act.
Oh my gosh.
Wake up! William's coming.
Is this the one where she knocks the pillar over him? And that's how she kills him?
Yep.
Brilliant.
She goes Chad too, but nobody really cares. It's still good, but
Yeah, I know, William, and I'm glad to see you too.
Well, yeah, but she doesn't go as bad as her boyfriend. So.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Jeremy, the super calculator's infested with crankerlots over here. What's holding Aelita up?
She's just about ready to enter the tower.
About time.
Jeremy, I finally got here.
Great. Yeah.
Don't waste any time.
What?
And she's
I
gone.
don't believe this.
Do be like that.
Aelita just got devirtualized. It looks like you're on your own with the Cankerlots.
Look, I know I'm good, but there are 7 of these creeps. I could go down on this, and that'll blow the whole mission.
Try to hold out until Yumi's finished
You
her
got
comeback.
this,
If she
Ulrich.
beats William, she can come back and give you some help.
Roger.
No, she can't, because she's bugged now.
Yep. Let's go. Man, every time with this music, I'm hyped. He's disappointed. I'll admit, nice one, Yumi. But can she stick the landing? Oh!
Damn.
2 for 2. And 3 strikes, and
No,
you're out.
Whatever happened to Super Smoke?
He just used it right now
That
when
was
he
great,
turned into
Yumi.
that
Get
smoke.
ready for another teleportation. Ulrich needs your help.
Okay. No, hold on. I'm all bugged up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, too late.
F in the
Can't
chat.
believe how jinxed we are today.
Gee, thanks.
What is this dumb bug anyhow?
That's exactly
Yeah,
what I'm about
fucking
to find out.
Delarobia.
It's a Mandel bug.
A what?
A bug in the virtualization software, and the causes are so complex that its behavior seems totally chaotic. And with no way to tell if the behavior is really chaotic or just seems to be, it's impossible to differentiate it from a Bohr bug or a Heisenbug. Huh?
Couldn't be any more clear.
You mean it?
No.
No.
It's an
No.
extremely unusual problem, and Jeremy doesn't know how to fix it yet.
Oh, why didn't you say so?
Oh, great. That's all we needed now.
Let's go. And look, you know what? Look, they're shooting correctly. After all that time in evolution, I think
bet
it's
you want some good
important.
news.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have any. To make a long story short, you're still
It
on
do
your
be
own,
like
the
that.
tower's still activated, and
That
you're probably
brutal
gonna get the
honesty
bug
there
I
is
can't fix.
Is that all?
Perfect.
No.
Right.
You've got to work fast, because Xana also sent in some tarantulas to blow up the skid.
Great.
Gotta go check.
Ready to rumble, guys? Here we go.
Going Chad! Super sprint and
Hey, did you
triplicate.
see
No one
that?
can change my
Ulrich just
mind.
knocked off 3 of them.
But how did he do that? He's only got 2 sabers. Incredible! There goes another one.
He's on.
Yeah,
He's
but there are
scared
3 of him.
I think the thing I find most hilarious about this entire episode is all of Odd's bad luck is just translated into good luck
That's
for Ulrich.
Nice going.
It's
Now
right.
get rid of the supercomputer. Better hurry. You're fading fast.
Uh-oh. Xana might have had that bug on his side, but he couldn't account for Ulrich going
No
Chad.
sweat. I made a little remote control piloting program for emergencies just like this one.
The power of raw Chad energy is just too much.
No, Jeremy, that autopilot doesn't control for what happens if it gets attacked in the digital sea. Oh, the portrait.
Nah, just connect some Xbox controllers to the supercomputer and bam.
You know, I wish that
Another
there was,
replica
I don't
bites the
know,
dust. Fantastic.
digital sea in the background.
Oh.
Blank. This
Yeah.
Who's the
this
man
kid
today,
enjoys
guys,
plot
huh?
armor. Yes, it does,
Oh
Darkana.
my god. Yeah, you're right.
Well, what do you think?
Look, buddy, that's what I think.
I knew you'd say that.
Lucky luck.
What'd you do now?
What
You
does
know
it look
what?
like I slipped? I guess I can't deny it. Ever since I broke that mirror, I've been jinxed.
Relax, Odd. Jinxes don't
It
exist.
do be like
Luck
that,
does,
Odd.
but it changes.
Yeah, the only question is when.
Ha-ha! Lady
I
Luck
love
might be
this.
smiling at me
I
already.
love this.
Name.
Ta-da! Azra is mobile. Look, she left behind on purpose just so I would find it.
Are you sure?
No,
Yo,
Odd,
what's
you're-
Delarobia
No, I've
doing
just gotta
stealing
wait for her to
someone's
call me
phone?
to get it back.
No, Odd, you're just stupid.
Yep.
I'd like to get my cell phone back. Meet me under the arches right away. See you guys later. I've got a date with Cupid.
Great.
No, you
Tell
don't.
Cupid we said hi.
Good luck.
Let's
It's
go.
already good. So long.
My man Odd about to seal the deal.
Azra?
No, it's Jim Morales.
Oh, sorry, Jim, but you see, I'm
Can't
waiting to meet
believe it.
somebody, so if you don't mind.
So's you who found my cell phone.
You mean it's yours?
Yeah, that's right. Why?
Because, I mean, it's not your style.
I like pink. Got a problem with
It
that?
would be like
Look at the
that.
color that you wear all the time.
Yeah, but pink with sparkles and a heart charm on it? Isn't that a bit too much?
Listen,
This is why
Jim
we
will
love Jim.
deck you.
This is why we love Jim.
But I'd rather not talk about it.
Heck yeah. He's comfortable with himself, and I'm proud of him for that. Nah, I'm just remembering, though. The Desert Sector episode, sorry, the Desert Replica episodes are just a good set of episodes. I mean, you have, you have A Lack of Goodwill, Heart of Luck. Is there another one? It's not Guided Missile, but I can't remember.
Hard Luck's
But
the last
it's just,
Desert Replica episode, so I don't know what.
yeah, I know. Yeah, they find it in A Lack of Goodwill. Well, both A Lack of Goodwill and Hard Luck are good episodes, so, like,
No, but I think you started saying
it's just
those
bang.
afterwards.
Yeah. It's just banger after banger. And I think that's awesome.
Banger after banger after banger. Bum, bum, bow, bow, bow.
Oh, heck yeah. Wait, so are you just gonna keep streaming?
Yeah.
Streaming to me, or...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that-
switched
yeah.
over. Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because I'm seeing it. So...
We're going to wait up a moment, see if Flower arrives at the late time of which she stated she would arrive.
Alright. How long we gonna give her?
I don't know. Let's give her all the time in the world. She deserves it.
Alright, guys. Well, you're
See y'all when we're
absolutely right.
skeletons.
Alright, guys. We gonna wait.
Yeah.
So, lovely weather we're having.
Actually, I know what we could do in the meantime. Hold on.
She said she'd be late, but yeah. I suppose we can give her 5 minutes.
I will share a skip with you guys.
What we gonna do?
Hold on.
A skip? What kind of skip?
You'll see.
Sir, this is Code Lyoko. The only type of skit I know is a skid, like the skid Blatnier. I don't know where I was going with that, but...
YouTube is the most useless thing in the universe.
It absolutely is.
Oh, I'm already... Dang, that's a popular upload. Here we
Alright,
go.
we're talking physics.
Nope. We're talking
No.
Friday the 13th. Memes.
Aw, man. Ooh, Friday the 13th.
Oh, you can't see this, Swayze.
What are we gonna do?
Hold on. I'll just switch it over. There we go. Does that work?
Yeah, now I
Yeah,
see.
this is Minecraft. Can you see it now?
Crafted mine. Yeah, I can.
This is part of my voice acting reel.
Oh.
You know what? I am sick and tired of this Friday the 13th hullabaloo.
Gamebird, no! You'll die!
See you later, you paranoid lunatic.
It do be like that.
For the longest time, me and him have wanted to just turn this into a sequel bit. Where basically it's just Friday the 13th over the years of me repeatedly not believing in any of it.
That's beautiful. Wait, but Dark Xana, you can't do Creeper because there were no creepers. I mean, you make a good point, Dark Xana. It is still better than Evolution.
What's still better than Evolution?
Minecraft.
I mean, Minecraft's like easily top 5 of the greatest games ever made. So
Exactly. I
kind of
mean,
hard to be better than that.
Nah. Steve can get into Smash, but do you see Tyrone getting into Smash? No. So it's obvious which one is superior.
Of course. I'm not disagreeing, Lazy. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Like
I'm saying it's hard to be better than Minecraft.
Exactly. Let's see. I guess another minute or so, then we
What do you
shall
mean, build my case for why Minecraft is one of the greatest games of all time? Okay, Darkzan, are you asking what case am I building?
What are our favorite games? Ooh.
Because my favorite games list shares a couple with like greatest of all time, but you know, there are games that I like playing that I would describe as my favorite, but I would never argue that they're the greatest ever made.
Well, I mean, I have a favorite games list.
Because
Although
favorite, best, and greatest, while can be sort of interchangeable, are not. Particularly best and great. A lot of people seem to conflate the best games with the greatest games, which is not how that works. So what precisely are you asking? Like, what are my favorite games? What are Flower's favorite games? What are Wazy's favorite games? Hello, Flower.
Welcome, Flower.
We were waiting for you, and you arrived. Oh man, you arrived perfectly on time.
Yeah. I said we were going to give you 5 minutes, and here you are. At 5 minutes. But
what, Flower?
I just said
yeah, I didn't hear you.
said nice.
Ah, you're breaking up a little.
There's something wrong with
Just
this mic because it's like
you
people have
fade
been
in and fade out.
complaining.
Ish.
Let me check the connection.
That might work.
Have you tried plugging it, unplugging, and plugging it back in? I hear that always works.
Oh my god.
Said every newbie tech support guy ever.
Have you tried plugging it in and plugging it out again? Because I think that will work.
Lions Tech Tips is doing another Secret Shopper series. I can't wait to hear the tech supports because I just want to hear one of them be like, "Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back?"
Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
I literally unplugged it and plugged it back in.
Well, god damn it, Flower! You're just feeding into the propaganda.
I mean, it's the first thing to try because if it works, it works.
No, that's fair. It's fair. It's the dummy route of you should always try it and then get tech support.
Yeah. Most cases, the answer is yes, unless it's like, I mean, if you're really not computer savvy, and then they're like, you got to unplug the hard drive and plug it back in. That's like, how do I do that?
Hard. Yeah.
Whenever something has a minor glitch, I just buy a new one. Like, if for whatever reason,
it warms my heart that people to this day are still commenting on my Minecraft RTX meme video.
if the battery on my laptop dies, then that sucks. I guess it's time to buy a new laptop.
There are people rich enough that could just do that if they really wanted to.
I know, but
How do I download more RAM? You go to downloadmoreram.com.
Whoa. That's crazy, man.
I really like the downloadmoreram.com. It's such a great website. I love that like people are getting like their lives are getting ruined by this shit. We need to do something about it. Let's make a website that rickrolls people when they try to download more RAM. Oh, I love it's just beautiful.
Hold on, now I'm curious.
You're actually curious? No, yeah, go to it.
Yeah.
Click to download.
Whoa.
Select your
Ah,
plan.
man, this is great.
So
All right, I need 30.
I'm gonna download
I
32
need-
gigabytes, and then it initializes
Yeah,
your download.
same.
Oh,
Ah,
my
man, here we
Avast
go.
is telling me the site might be untrustworthy.
It's fine. No, it's fine.
Here
Trust
we
me.
go.
They
Here we
legit
go.
made this site.
Connecting to the interwebs. Retrieving all the RAM. Here we go. Here we go. Almost there.
when the Rickroll
Oh,
above
download
so you
complete.
can pause
Let's
it.
go. Initializing. Okay, fine, fair enough. Connecting to the interwebs. Is it supposed to go twice? All right, let's
love
do this.
that
Let's
someone
do this. Oh,
dedicated-
I'm at a YouTube link. I wonder what it is.
Never gonna get.
God damn it.
Wazy, have we ever
I
thought
can't
about
believe it.
putting a Rickroll into an episode? 'Cause
Oh my god.
We should. We absolutely should.
Oh my god.
We looked
Oh
for
my
silver
god.
but found gold.
Can't believe
Okay.
it. Ah.
What?
Oh, you sent me a meme. Oh, that's right.
is
You
this the-
did.
Yeah, the.
Oh, it's been a while. Sorry. Let
Hold up.
me just
Yeah, no.
take a look at
Is
it.
it the one where Odd's like a hipster sitting in front of the cafeteria, and then he's like, my thing goes like a brrr.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But he talks in French, so I didn't really understand it.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, but the editing's fine.
Yeah.
Did you guys see what Xana sent me for a sub alert on my personal Twitch channel?
I'm not.
Alright, hold on. Will this paste properly? No, that's not the. Hold on.
So did you guys watch Hard Luck the last like a half hour ago?
We did. Well, I
Okay.
watched like half of it.
We watched.
So
Yeah, we watched we started a half hour early and watched the entirety of Hard Luck.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think it's French. I think Flower just couldn't understand it's very quiet and like super fast speaking, so I think she just thought it was French.
Yeah.
Is that that's not hyperlink. That's not thumbnailing. Annoyed. Okay.
But nah.
I think we've held it off long enough though. Let's get started with 12. Chapter 12.
Man, I can't. Well, what even happened in Chronicles? Like,
Should we do a recap?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
Let me double check.
yeah, I don't
Session
remember
5.
either.
We ended with a monster at Yumi's house. That's when
the guy
the
showed
man
up-
with the dogs.
The fucking dark
Right,
the Carthage agent.
Then there was that-
be murderer dude.
There's that kid that was like into Aelita as a kid, right?
Yes,
that
that's
guy, he's
Richard.
a
That's
man
Richard
now.
Dupuis.
Yeah.
Dupuis. I can't
And
think of a more
Aelita
French
met him
last
at a
name.
cafe, and she decided to tell him everything. So he's
Yeah.
sort of a warrior, sort of.
I can't
I
think of a
mean-
more French last name than Dupuis.
Nah. In this canon, because William isn't part of the Leoka Warriors, they needed to have a dick on the team. So
Richard's actually pretty nice.
I know, but
No, they needed a third wheel for the love interests. Get it right.
Gosh darn
Get it
it.
right.
Gosh darn it.
Richard's the third wheel in Jeremy and Aelita.
Oh.
Love triangle.
Someone asked me because they came into the server asking if anyone's read Chronicles, and I'm like, I've read Chronicles. I'll answer your questions. And they basically wanted to know William's involvement in Chronicles because they're like William was their favorite character and they were curious. So I gave him the lowdown because he's like, oh, it says he's only a cameo. Is this true? And then I basically give the run through of his involvement, and I'm like, yeah, it was kind of he's kind of shafted. And then he's just like, can you send me like pictures of like the books where the pages that talk about it? I'm like, I'll do you one better, and I just sent him the entire Chronicles. Blew his mind.
Oh my god.
What? I can just download it for free?
I sent him the link, and then I'm like, you know what? I'll just literally upload the PDFs to this DM chat, and that's what I did.
Wow.
All right, so yeah, the guy who's the Carthage agent who's trying to figure out where the supercomputer is, went and just straight up stole the memories of Yumi's parents.
And
And
Odd's
Odd.
dad.
Yeah.
Richard,
we've already done that part.
Oh,
We're
not
past that
Robert.
part.
Robert Del Robia.
Yeah. Man, I cannot imagine that man being
So
named
is
Robert.
Ulrich's parents next?
See.
Are we gonna see Ulrich's dad get into a coma? Not a coma, but like lose his memory to the point where he actually
He's
a time where he was
loving
actually a
father?
nice person.
All right, time to mute up.
Here we go.
Chapter 12. Nothing but mysteries. The large clock that sat upon the wall of Caddick Academy struck midnight. Jeremy heard the dismal sound from his room. He then turned on the light, because obviously he wasn't going to get any sleep. He got up and placed himself at his desk. He took a notebook and a sheet of paper, then started to calmly list all the problems that had presented themselves and the information they'd collected so far. 1. Professor Hertz. What does she know about Hopper? Why is she keeping a file on him? What do the codes mean? And the address in Brussels? He sighed. Nothing but questions, and he'd only just started. 2. The man with dogs. Who is he? What does he want? Why did he attack Odd and Yumi's parents? Who will be the next victim? This thought made him freeze. His parents lived far away from Caddick. Maybe that would keep them safe. Or maybe not. After all, Odd's parents also live in a different city. The student preferred not to think about it. 3. Richard. Why did so much code appear on his computer? Was it Hopper who sent them to him? And why does Aelita treat him like some sort of god? Jeremy sighed and erased the last sentence. It wasn't exactly correct. It was true that his heart had almost stopped when the girl had told him that she saw Richard in a cafe that morning, but for the moment it was of no importance. 4. Hopper. What is the significance of the video he pushed us to find? And what must we do to help Aelita find her mother? 5. Xana. As he wrote these initials, the hand holding the pen stopped dead. Xana had been destroyed. That, at least, they were sure of. What if that wasn't the case? Odd hadn't managed to sleep either. He couldn't stop seeing the darkened eyes of Mr. Ishiyama superimposed over those of his father after he'd been attacked. Usually, the student was always in high spirits, but recent events were starting to seriously trouble him. Someone had rang the doorbell and lured his father into the garden to do something to him. Odd was now convinced that it wasn't a kidnapping attempt, if not the same thing would have happened to Yumi's parents. The important question was therefore to find out what the man with the 2 dogs wanted. What was he doing with cable gloves? How did he manage to erase his image from the video Jeremy had recorded in the Hermitage? Suddenly, he remembered the strange memory card that his mother had given him at the hospital. He leapt out of the bed, then began to rummage through his jacket pockets. He took out the small black plastic rectangle. He observed it. Nothing. No writing, just 3 or 4 golden marks on one of the sides. Odd sighed. He knew nothing about technical things, but Eva, on the other hand, seemed rather gifted in that area. It was really thanks to her that he discovered the image of the man with dogs on the Hermitage surveillance video, so she could surely help him discover what was hidden on this plastic thing. And then, tomorrow was Sunday, an opportunity for him to visit her. He might even be able to meet her parents and stay at her house for a while. Fantastic! He rifled through the mess on his desk to find the scrap of paper on which he'd written Eva's address and phone number, Rue André René. It was only 2 o'clock in the morning, but he still decided to call Jeremy, who immediately picked up. Apparently you haven't managed to sleep either. No, Jeremy said. I was in the middle of studying how to force the lock in the apartment for Org and Yumi. I'm a little computer hacker, Odd laughed. I just wanted to tell you that you won't see me tomorrow morning. I'm going to see Eva. Jeremy's voice immediately became more somber. What do you have in mind? Nothing, don't worry. Hey, Odd, you're not going to do some films about Eva by any chance? And what if I am? She's a great girl, isn't she? I didn't talk about the memory card, because if Jeremy had seen it, he would immediately set to work on it, and he wouldn't have an excuse to go to Eva's house anymore. So for that reason, you intend to go behind Jim Morell's back again? Jeremy questioned. You really are a genius, Einstein, Odd responded before hanging up. Sunday morning arrived quickly. Dark clouds hung heavy with the threat of rain, and that didn't deter Odd. Rue Andre Rene was large and long, bordered by tall trees that shook in the violet wind. 2 rows of small, tidy houses with black roofs and wooden walls, all painted white, lined up in front of the boy's gaze. What rotten weather, Odd thought, shivering. Suddenly, lightning lit up the sky, and a large drop of rain fell onto his nose. Then another, then another. He shot beneath the trees like an arrow, being very careful not to slip on the footpath that had been dirtied by sleet in previous days. He then looked for the numbers written on the letterboxes. 30, 28. The rain intensified, and in but a few seconds he found himself soaked to the bone, his blonde hair stuck to his face, and his clothing weighing a ton. He accelerated again, upset about having to present himself to Eva like this, but he no longer had a choice. It was impossible to return to Caddick in this torrential rain. 18. The 1 and 8 were painted in red varnish. Odd jumped onto the doorstep, protected by a canopy. He rang. No response. He rang again, and afraid of not pressing hard enough, he tried a third time. Dring! Finally, the door opened. Eva was wearing a tight tracksuit. Odd, she said, smiling. Hi, he responded. I was just passing by, and it started to rain, so... Suddenly, he realized that it was only 8:30 in the morning. He murmured, feeling uneasy. I haven't woken up your parents, have I? No, I'm alone. My parents are at work. Working on a Sunday? Working? On a Sunday? Odd thought to himself. Would you mind if I come in for a bit to dry myself off? He said, embarrassed. Please, Eva responded. Come in. You're drenched. Get undressed. Odd stopped dead, unable to respond, which was rare for him. Get undressed? Did you really just ask him to undress? Would you by any chance have some clothes I could borrow from your father? No. He looked all around him. Actually, it seemed like a number of things were missing from this house. Moreover, it was barely furnished. The front door faced a small hallway that led directly into the living room, and an empty room that had nothing but a laptop sitting on the floor. It was the same thing for the kitchen. No sink, no furniture, no oven, and no stove. 4 walls within them completely empty, only a few gas and water pipes hanging from the ceiling. As for the boiler, it was just fixed to the wall. Where's the bathroom? Odd asked, astonished. Over there, the girl indicated, at the end of the hallway. The hallway opened onto 2 empty rooms that didn't even have beds in them. In one of them, there was just a pink suitcase, open and full of clothes. And in the bathroom, there was still a sink, a toilet, and a towel. Odd used it to fix his hair. When it came to his jacket, sweatshirt, pants, and even his shoes and socks, everything had to be dried. Only his t-shirt remained dry, so he decided to keep it on. He got undressed, took the memory card, wrapped the towel around his waist to hide his underwear, and returned to the living room. Eva was waiting for him, seated on the floor with her laptop on her knees. She looked at Odd humorously. You're almost naked, she murmured. I don't think that's very good. Me neither, Odd nodded. But with drenched clothing on, I could catch a cold. Wait. Eva stood, disappeared into one of the rooms, and came back with a floral pink tracksuit. Odd took it, sighing. The tracksuit was very tight and the pants far too short. Nothing like the James Bond look. When she saw him in that getup, Eva laughed at him. He tried to distract her attention. Your house's decor is, a little refined, isn't it? But he then held his tongue, because after all, what did he know about her family? Anyway, he said to save himself, you just moved in, it's normal. If you want, you could spend some time in the dorms, waiting for your stuff to get here, the beds and all that. I'm perfectly fine here, Eva responded coldly. But of course, he quickly said, me too. I like it here a lot. Odd sat near Eva, then showed her the memory card. Eva, I'd like to ask you for help with this thing. I found it, and I don't know how to use it. The girl seized the card and observed it with shining eyes, as if she could see within it. Then she slipped it into the laptop and typed on some keys. It's just a video, she announced in a neutral voice. Okay, I'm starting it. Odd held his breath as an image appeared on the screen. It was a lovely-looking woman, dressed in a white shirt. Her hands and feet were tied to a wooden chair, and thick red hair fell messily over her shoulders. A man's hand, wearing a black glove, suddenly placed itself in front of the woman, brandishing the front page of a newspaper. The Investigator! The date had been highlighted in yellow, 2nd of May, 1994. Odd covered his mouth with his hand, stupefied. Then he exclaimed, This video is way old! It was just before Alita went to La Yoga with her father, and this woman must be... Red hair, the shape of the nose and eyes. But of course, it was Anthea, Alita's mother, held prisoner. The newspaper disappeared from the screen, revealing the woman once again. She began to speak. I'm doing fine, Waldo. Don't worry about me. They're keeping me prisoner, but everything will be... Her face suddenly changed to a look of infinite sadness. She slowly bowed her head and began to cry. How is Aelita doing? It's been years since I've seen her. She must be going to primary school now. Has she grown up? I want to kiss her so much. The woman sobbed when a masculine voice ordered from off-screen, Finish it. Say what you know, and that's enough. Anthea raised her head, her face full of hate as she turned towards the man that spoke. Waldo, she continued crying, these men are making me ask you to continue to work, to take down Project Carthage. If you do it, they'll free me, and then we can be together. You, me, and Aelita. Like family again. Suddenly, the woman raised her head, frightened, and quickly whispered, Don't do it, Waldo. They'll never let me go, and they're trying to kill you. Let Carthage go and save yourself. Get far away. The silhouette of a man then entered the image, hiding Anthea. There was a click, then the image disappeared in a shower of sparks, and the video stopped. Odd almost knocked Eva's laptop over. We have to warn Jeremy and Aelita and show them this video, he cried, leaping up. No, Eva responded in a clear tone. Don't you understand? Odd protested. That woman was Aelita's mother, and now we know that she's alive. Or that she was alive at least 10 years ago, and that she was held captive. Jeremy can analyze the video and discover something. No, Eva repeated, also standing up. What has gotten into you? Odd responded, stupefied. The girl slipped a hand into her pocket, but when she took it back out again, it took Odd a few seconds to comprehend what she held in her hand. This was crazy! Why would Eva have a switchblade knife with a blade shining sinisterly but a few centimeters from his face? You're not going anywhere, stupid human, she let out in a strange voice. Eva's lips moved, but her voice was no longer her own. It was distorted, as if it had been spoken directly from computer speakers. A masculine voice, a deep one. Odd knew this voice all too well. It was that of their mortal enemy, Xana.
Bum bum bum. Why won't it let me go to the Oh god.
That's
Wazy.
wrong.
Oh
It's
god,
do. Okay.
Wazy, I will slap you.
No.
Alright, on to chapter 13. Mute up.
Here we go.
Or else.
Chapter 13. The Replica. Auric and Yumi awoke early, also leaving a note for the Ishiyama's friend. She was a kind woman in her 30s with a slightly hippie look, and who had welcomed them without asking any questions. She lived in the middle of the city, but the teens had to run from one hardware shop to the other during lousy weather to find the components that Jeremy described to them via email. Then they sought refuge in Bois de la Cam, a park near Rue Le Manier, to proceed with the installation. 122 euros, Auric sighed as he took the material out of his backpack. It would have cost us less to go back to Caddick and have Jeremy build this electronic thingy. Instead of moaning, why don't you give me a hand? Yumi asked. The instructions seemed complicated. They had bought an electric screwdriver, a series of needles and fine-tipped iron, a hammer drill, batteries, and a bunch of other stuff. Now they had to assemble everything to create what Jeremy called the electronic lockpick. Where did he learn how to do this stuff? Auric asked, unscrewing the body of the drill to disassemble it. Jeremy said that he found it all on the internet, Yumi explained. Look here, he wrote, position the needles on the closure pivot of the lock cylinder and give it large strokes in a way that will initiate a ball mechanism which... Okay, Auric sighed. It's completely incomprehensible. But did he say anything where we need to insert this thing into the electronic thingy? The young girl replied. I didn't think that Jeremy wrote electronic thingy. The two lovebirds continued to work until around midday, sitting on a bench in the icy cold. From time to time, Auric would observe Yumi. She was still in deep concentration. The day before had been so beautiful that he hadn't found the right moment to talk sincerely with her. He didn't want to wreck the magical atmosphere by risking starting a fight. Though she'd told him that it'd be better if they remained just friends, he really had trouble supporting the idea. So he had waited to talk to her, and he was still waiting. He thought of stopping for a moment to take her hands and look into her eyes. No, not yet. Not while they were passing screws and nuts to each other. Later. Yumi brushed the hair away from her forehead and finally announced, That's good. This machine should be ready. You can take out the lock we bought. We're going to give it a try. That, too, was written in Jeremy's instructions. Using the electronic lock pit isn't simple. Practice with it where nobody can see you. A 20-euro lock straight out the window, Auric groused while taking out the brand new lock from his backpack and trying to use the electronic instrument to open it. Jeremy had warned them. This operation wasn't at all evident to the naked eye. Auric gave up about half an hour later. I can't feel my hands anymore, he groaned. It's freezing cold, and if you ask me, we made a mistake while we were building it. This thing will never open. Wait, Yumi said. I'm going to try it. She took the lock in her hands, and as soon as she did so, the lockpick engaged the switch. Then she gave it a small whack with her fist, and click! The pistons came back, and the lock opened. Beginner's luck, Oric muttered, annoyed. It's all in the movement, his friend laughed. In any case, now I know that I can become a burglar. Come on, let's move. We need to get back to Caddick tonight. Rue Camille Lemagny was deserted, and even the cafe on the corner was closed. As they reached number 14, Oric let out a sigh of relief. At least they were at less risk of getting in trouble. Let's hurry, Yumi, he said as he passed her the electronic lockpick. If someone sees us and calls the police, we're going to get into real trouble. Don't worry, she responded confidently. She put the device to work, and not long after, they heard the metallic sound of the lock opening. They entered. The building's lobby faced a small landing reachable using a marble staircase with a fine forged iron railing. On one side they saw a wooden door closed, from which a musty smell escaped. Nobody's been here for centuries, Oric observed. Have you noticed? Yumi cut in. There are no surveillance cameras. Maybe the owners aren't really secret agents after all. The closed door had no name on it, nor a doorbell. After a brief moment of thought, they decided to investigate the general area, so they adventured up the staircase. The building was 8 stories high, and each opened onto a hallway with no windows, arranged with 4 identical doors with neither numbers nor names. Most of the doors were closed, and the only open ones showed completely empty apartments. Arriving on the 3rd floor, Oric and Yumi began to lose hope, and on the 6th they were even more discouraged. They climbed up to the 8th floor at a running pace, soon ready to return to Caddick without having found anything. Nothing here either, Oric sighed, breathless. What do we do now? Try to open each door one by one? Wait, that one seems different to the others. Look, Yumi breathed, indicating to a door a little further away. Oric approached it. Even though it was made of dark wood like the others, it had a more solid and massive aspect, and the lock seemed to be reinforced. They examined it for a moment, then decided to try their device. Yumi's instinct may have been right. They tried the lockpick 3 times, and the lock opened. Oric opened the door wide. Both of their jaws practically dropped to the floor. The apartment was just one large room that resembled an old office. The floor was covered with thick beige carpet, and on the walls there was horrible wallpaper in the same color. Dozens of screens and electronic equipment, as well as other giant computers, sat at an immense steel table. The equipment was so cumbersome that it covered up part of the only window. When Oric advanced, a thick cloud of dust rose from the carpet, making him sneeze. He approached the table. On it, there were motorcycle helmets equipped with strange devices and gloves connected to wires that relayed to a computer. Then, on the side, there were several yellowed keyboards that were at least 20 years old, and large cathode ray tube monitors that must have weighed a ton. If you ask me, Yumi declared. Yes? That's a supercomputer prototype, like the one in the old factory, and these helmets and gloves could be the predecessors to the scanners. Are you kidding? Oric replied nervously. So you're saying that this place is an access point to Lyoko? Not really, maybe just a copy of Lyoko. I think that, technically, the exact term is replica. Yumi moved a large stack of paper from the desk, and freed a large black box adorned with a large lens on the front. This resembles the holographic projector that Jeremy uses to control our movements when we're in the virtual world, and this other thing. She then indicated to a device composed of mirrors and cables relayed to the motorcycle helmets. This resembles the electronic thingy, as you call it, and it's mounted on the scanners of the factory. Oric sat on the floor and ran his fingers through his hair, annoyed. That's crazy, he exclaimed. What do you propose we do? Seems clear to me, Yumi responded, winking at him. Turn everything on and see if I was right. But if it really is a replica, like you say, Oric spluttered, Santa could be inside it. I don't think so, his friend replied. When Hopper sacrificed himself, he must have destroyed Xana in all his forms, right? And then, in any case, we can leave the virtual world at any time by destroying these devices. Yumi was very convincing. Oric ended up agreeing. In Caddick's cafeteria, Aelita quickly finished a glass of milk, then stood up. Jeremy hadn't finished eating. Where are you going? He asked. Richard is waiting for me in the cafe we went to yesterday, the young girl blushed. We have to continue our discussion. Jeremy felt his chest tighten. I don't understand what you find so interesting about him. Come on, Jeremy. He was a classmate. He knew me before this whole thing started. Before Lyoko and the supercomputer. He always came over to my place, and he knows everything about a time in my life that I don't remember anything about. Yes, but well, Jeremy muttered. Tell me, you aren't a little jealous by any chance? She said with a small smile. Jealous? Me? Are you kidding? Jealous of that fool who doesn't even know how to turn a computer and who... Don't exaggerate, she retorted. Okay, excuse me, but I have to go. I can't be late. Jeremy watched Aelita and her tuft of red hair leave the cafeteria. He ended up eating all alone. Suddenly, he realized that Odd hadn't shown up for lunch, which was very strange, even unbelievable, seeing as he never misses a meal. Where did he go? With the storm that had hit the city, it was probable that he had gone out, and after all, Odd was a little wacky. Jeremy had no desire to remain by himself in the cafeteria, so he quickly grabbed an apple and returned to his room. He did indeed have the intention of studying the strange Hubbox codes. With little effort, he could maybe learn what they're for. He entered his room and remained immobile, petrified. The dossier! It was no longer on his desk, and he hadn't even made a copy. He inspected the lock on the door. No trace of a break-in. The desk was covered with a thin layer of dust, except for where he had placed the file. Who had come into his room? Normally, Professor Hurd spent her weekends at school, shut up in her room. At the end of the week, the staff building was empty and quiet, and that allowed her to prepare her classes in peace. However, today, she couldn't bring herself to concentrate. Images of Franz Hopper in her past haunted her. Was she right in confiding the Hopper, alias Waldo Schaefer, file to the principal? At the time, it had seemed like the best solution, because Delmas knew the outline of what happened, and she trusted him completely. But of course, she knew Jeremy. She knew he would stop at nothing to unveil a mystery. The dossier had become too dangerous. Once again, she thought of the apartment in Belgium. The prospect of the teens being able to find it terrorized her to the point that she'd rather not think about it at all. Stop thinking about these dark ideas, Suzanne, she told herself in a reassuring tone. What happened to your cool-headedness? Don't forget, when you were 20, you were known as the Relentless, and now you're afraid of confronting these 13-year-old kids? It was useless to torture her mind in this way. The only thing that she could do was to act. She then stood from her chair and closed the physics book that she was trying in vain to consult. Then she took the copies of the keys for the principal's office that she had secretly hidden in a drawer and moved to exit the room. She would just check to see if the dossier was still in its place, then leave. Always doubt everything. When she was younger, this simple rule had saved her life many times. She turned into the hallway that led into the principal's office and came face to face with Eva Skinner. She may have been wrong, but she could have sworn she saw the student leaving Delma's office. The young girl smiled widely and began to speak. Her American accent had almost disappeared. I was looking for the principal, she said. I knocked, but he didn't respond. I think he's taking a walk with his daughter, Hertz responded. And you? Don't you have to be at home with your parents? I came here to revise our Wednesday homework with my new friends, the young student replied, shrugging. The professor watched Eva leave. She waited until she was out of sight before turning the handle of Delma's office door. It was open. Had the principal forgotten to lock it? Everything seemed in order in his office. She knew where Delmas was keeping the file, in the desk drawer, and its key was in the pen holder. But when she opened it, her heart began to pound. The drawer was empty. But how? She murmured. She calmly opened the large metallic filing cabinet, then looked through the files in alphabetical order until she found the dossier labeled Waldo Schaefer, so the principal had simply decided to move it. Hertz let out a big sigh, relieved. Azure doors and rounded roofs like those on Chinese pagodas, pathways that reached into the sky like delicate colored ribbons, intertwining around towers that were so high you couldn't see the top. This isn't Lyoko, Oryx said, confused. But look at us, Yumi cried. The young girl was dressed in the geisha costume that she always wore on Lyoko, with her face painted white and her hair held back by pins. She was wearing her elegant kimono tied to her waist by an obi sash. Orc also wore his usual samurai outfit, a short kimono, and on his feet socks in traditional geida, a sandal whose strap separates the big toe from the others. The only difference was that the student no longer wore a saber, or katana, on his hip. Looks like we're unarmed, he sighed. I don't like that at all, Yumi responded in a metallic voice. Her voice was distorted by the speakers that they'd both inserted in their motorcycle helmets. The rudimentary instruments didn't appear to allow them to completely enter this replica of the Yoko. The two friends' bodies were still in reality, and the room filled with computers. Well, if things go badly, we can always remove the devices and go back to Earth, right? Oric consoled. Try and see, Yumi said. Oric placed his hands on his throat, where the helmet was attached. Nothing. His fingers, covered by the gloves, gave him a feeling of smooth skin, and they followed the contour of the face as if there had never been any helmet on his head. He felt nothing. For Ulrich in the replica, these objects didn't exist. There was no way to touch them. So, let's hope that things don't go badly, he breathed. Do you know how we're supposed to move in here? Touch the thumb and index finger in your right hand together and move the hand in the direction you want to move in, Yumi explained before rocketing off into the sky. Ulrich tried to imitate her. He raised his hand and fell violently to the ground. Ha! That hurt, he yelled. Yumi hovered around him elegantly. This is weird, she said. It's not like on Lyoko. We're not really here. Our bodies are safe in the apartment? Maybe, but in any case, my nose is all swollen, Ulrich moaned. Maybe there are devices in the helmet that make us feel pain, or something like that. We have to contact Jeremy. For a moment, the young boy regretted not calling their whiz kid friend before using the replica, but now it was too late to think about it. Finally, on the second try, he succeeded in taking flight without incident, and Yumi followed him above the city. This fictional oriental-looking place was in ruins. Several pathways were damaged, and sharp fragments fell to earth in a colorful gush. The walls of the pagodas had a number of cracks in them, and the ground was dotted with holes, as if someone had bombed the place. The area seemed completely deserted. The two friends flew over parks where strange glass shrubs had covered everything, engulfing kiosks and trails. Then, transparent bridges overhung the rivers, now dry. Finally, they reached a wall. This wall was the only element that seemed new and fully intact. It was made up of black bricks, and it seemed so tall as to touch the sky. Yumi and Oryx flew high in the air along this gigantic structure, but even after about 10 minutes, they still didn't see an end to it. Oryx stopped halfway to touch the surface of the structure with his fingers. In doing so, he received some small electric charges. He sighed. This wall is endless. An infinite wall? That's impossible, Yumi exclaimed. In reality, maybe, but here it isn't. This whole city seems to be protected by this barrier, and we can't get over it. There must at least be a door somewhere, the girl suggested. They came back down to the ground and began to search for an opening. And indeed, a short while later, they found a 2-meter-tall door, kept shut by ample black door panels. There was neither lock nor handle to be seen. Oryx and Yumi tried to push it with all their might, but it was in vain. The door didn't budge even a millimeter. In the end, they gave up and leaned against the wall to catch their breath. It may be a virtual world, Oryx breathed, but we get his breath this year as in the real world. You're right, Yumi stammered, suddenly interrupted by a blue laser beam which struck her right in the chest. She rolled to the side while Oryx leapt up. He looked all around him, senses alert, until he saw it. It was a manta ray, one of Xana's monsters, which they had already confronted during their adventures on the Oko. The difference between the two fish was that this manta ray used its enormous wing fin to fly, and it shot lasers from the end of its tail. This way, Oryx cried. Hurry! The two friends flew at top speed, pursued by the monster, and new laser beams brushed against them in a burst of light. When it touched me, Yumi remarked, I didn't lose any life points. Are you telling me that we're immortal? Oryx wondered. I sure hope so, his friend responded. But without Jeremy and his supercomputer, we have no weapons or defense, and if we die... It was observed, and in any case, nothing bad could happen to them. When they die on Lyoko, they immediately return to reality by reappearing in the scanners of the old factory. Why would this be any different? However, Oryx also hit his nose when he fell, and it hurt. Therefore, they didn't know exactly how the replica functioned. To tell the truth, they had no idea whatsoever. Suddenly, Oryx saw other manta rays rush at them from above through the clear city sky. Yumi, go down, the young boy yelled, flying into a dive. They landed on the smooth tiles of a building and allowed themselves to slide to the ground in a spiral. Then they began to run harder. Oryx launched himself towards the gate of an abandoned park overgrown with tall glass trees. If there are monsters, Xana could also be here, he cried. You didn't notice? Yumi replied, gesturing with her head. The manta rays don't have a symbol. They don't have the eye of Xana like on the Oko. Probably, but they're still shooting at us, Oryx breathed. The two friends got through the iron gate and flew between the shrubs at low altitude. They were tortuous and thorny, and a funny green azure color. Suddenly, Yumi stopped short. Oryx fell on top of her and brought them both to the ground. Then they jumped up. What happened? Oryx cried. Did you see a ghost or what? Yumi didn't respond, but signaled for him to look forward. The student held his breath. Professor Hopper was there in front of them. No, the girl murmured. That can't be him, not really. It's surely a copy, a replica of Hopper. The professor's face was framed by a beard and a thick pair of glasses. Alita's father seemed translucent, and the friends could see right through him like a ghost. He was wearing a lab coat and had his hands in his pockets. When he saw them, he smiled widely. Children, at last, he exclaimed. I've been waiting so long for children to come here. Come closer. Hopper gestured to them with his head, then disappeared behind a shrub. Oryx and Yumi followed him, but when they got to the other side of the tree, the ghost had already disappeared. Suddenly, a laser hit a branch above their head, sending down a rain of glass leaves that broke loudly upon contact with the ground. The two friends watched, then fled across the park. The manta rays were now 20 in number and encircled the city. And as soon as they saw the teens, they rushed towards them. What do we do? Oryx asked, worried. I'm afraid that... Yumi couldn't finish her sentence. The monsters had opened fire.
The plot thickens.
It does.
So
This
our,
getting juicy.
our home slice friends, the Hizzle Hopper, is back from the grave.
Man, it's time to cancel Chronicles. Can't believe it.
No, I
Can't
remember
believe it.
first reading this, and I'm like, oh, I actually really like the replica. It's
So-
very different from Lyoko, and it's
So
unique.
did Ava kill Odd, or did I just like blank on that part?
Odd is now deceased, yes.
We'll
Shame.
see.
So are there
Waldo the
two? Are
Gray
there
or
two
Waldo the
Avas
White.
now? Because there was the one in Delmos's office, and then there was the one that killed Odd. And it seemed like all this was happening at the same time. The plot thickens.
Yep.
The one thing, I think I kind of missed this the first time. There's going to be a scene later that really points this out. Is Chronicles also forgets that Oric has vertigo because he really shouldn't be able to fly as quickly as he does, or at all. Like they do have him screw up at first, but it's just kind of implied that he just didn't get it as quickly as Yumi did. Not because of his vertigo.
Yeah, they sure did take away his Chad powers. Yumi's just like bang, bang, victory, 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 victory. Oh, it's like fail, 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 fail.
We were like saying he's like the only one in character. Honestly, I actually think he is a little more impulsive. Like, this is hella risky what they're doing. To just jump into the replica like this.
I think, like I said, I think my like biggest issue though is like, oh yeah, so Anthea got kidnapped so they could get Waldo to come back to the project.
I mean, that's what most of the fandom
And Waldo
speculates.
just alter egos himself, and then like he just makes his profile, but because at this point it's clear Anthea, they know Aelita exists, so they'd be looking for Waldo and Aelita because Aelita's more blackmail leverage. And well, obviously Waldo's who they want. And either it's like they know they can't kidnap Waldo. And that's why they're trying to blackmail him, but like then and I guess then maybe that's why they came to kidnap Aelita, but Waldo was home, so he dragged Aelita to the factory. And that's why they couldn't kidnap her to use her as leverage on top of Anthea. I don't know.
I mean, in canon, they do find Hopper and Aelita and they have to make an escape. And that also happens in Chronicles as well. So, like, they do eventually find Waldo. And they do, but then they lose him again as, you know, they run into the sewers and they don't know where the supercomputer is.
The sewers. They burst out his back door, but he's already gone by that point.
Oh yeah,
that's right, because he gets the secret door closed, and then
in Chronicles they know he went into the sewers, but the sewers is a maze, so they couldn't find him because once he's down there, they couldn't track him.
The thing I find interesting about the main canon is they burst out that back door, like, where'd he go? And they don't have the immediate thought of, oh, the panel in this brick wall that looks the section of the brick wall that looks different. And
I honestly think they did investigate it, but then by the time they did that, they couldn't find him because there's like it's concrete, there's no tracks, and it's once you make a turn and they don't know where he turned, it's just no one really knows where to go. I'm honestly kind of surprised Jeremy figured out the passageway, that he managed to figure out a way in through the sewers to the factory.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy was like, I need a way to skip curfew to go get computer parts. So he looked at like the building floor plans and he and he saw that there was sewer access because so, like, as much as people might want to be like, why is there sewer access in the boiling or the electrical room of Caddick Academy right next to the gymnasium? And the obvious reason is sometimes it's easier to have a way to walk down to sewer for instead of, you know, climbing down a manhole.
I mean, that's the boiler room. That's not an electrical room. That's there to maintain like the water levels. So, and they probably pulling it. It's probably interacting with that sewer, which is probably why it's just easier to get down in there to access maintenance. That's
there's
why
a breaker in. No, there's breakers in there.
It might be both. It might be both a boiler room and an electrical room.
It's a utility room.
Yeah.
That's accurate. Well, no,
I think
it's
the
just
way to go
sometimes
about it.
it's easier to bring equipment for repairs and whatnot through a stairwell into the sewer rather than going down a manhole. Yeah, you can lower stuff, but it's longer because you can't just have people make wave trips. Everything has to go down one at a time. And then you have to raise your... Yeah. The process would be longer. Well, Caddick has multiple boiler rooms. It has multiple boiler rooms, or at least furnaces, that heat the building. And I assume this because the one we see in the show isn't that big. We know the science building has one because in Cold War, I think that's right. That's the one where Xana freezes everyone to death.
No.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Cold War.
In Cold War, Delmas is on the phone with his person, like, he brought everyone to the boiler room for the science building, and the fuck? Oh, okay. No, just a message. I
You
gotta...
mean the one that Maker just posted?
No, not that. Some other message. Cam just DM'd me something. That's all. So I'm fairly confident saying Caddick probably has a couple furnace / boiler rooms for heating the main building. Probably no more than 3 though. 3 max.
That makes sense.
But no, yeah, just how hard Franz just was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a super large profile for these people trying to blackmail me into rejoining their government project to see.
I mean, he was a teacher. He was posing as a science teacher. That's not crazy high profile. I mean, it is a private school, so it's a little more, but not really.
Just don't be a
Like, it's not like he was
science
running to
teacher,
be
I
mayor or
guess.
something. It wasn't like he was like a celebrity or anything. He's just a high school science teacher.
Nah, but if you want the celebrity
Are you
route, he could
you're
be
telling
hiding in
me
plain
that
sight.
your high school science teachers were like super mundane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All my science teachers were fucking lit.
I mean, you can have a kooky teacher. You just, but that they don't, like, get the attention of the news or anything.
Unless they use their imaginations.
In France,
but
maybe.
yeah.
I don't know. It's not hard to get yourself on the news where I went to high school. Alrighty.
Time for the next chapter?
Here we go.
I'd say so. It's pizza time.
Pizza time.
Pizza, pizza, pizza.
Chapter 14 The Men in Black. Orig landed on the ground, exhausted. He was nauseous and all his muscles hurt as if he were beaten up. All around him, everything was dark and blurry. Orig! Cried Yumi. I sense you far away. It's because you have the helmet on, his friend insisted. We're back on Earth. Take it off. Orig obeyed, and little by little managed to sense his hands again in the helmet that sat heavily on his head. With some trouble, he removed the strap and finally took off the device. Yumi was sitting on the ground beside him in the apartment. She was having trouble breathing. Are you okay? Asked the schoolboy. Bad. It's like the lasers hit me pretty hard, she responded. Same for me. Oryx stood up and started to stretch to loosen his muscles. What do we do? He asked. Do you think we should go back into this thing? To hunt down Hopper's ghost, replied Yumi. I doubt that'd be a good idea. But then, Oryx started to say, shh, his friend suddenly interrupted him. Listen. The young boy hushed up and focused on a strange noise. Coming from out the window, apart from the endless Sunday traffic, a rhythmic sound could be heard, like pow, pow, pow. It was the propellers of a helicopter. Ulrich pointed to the window silently, but Yumi shook her head. The noise she heard was coming from the door, from the steps. Someone must have perceived the reactivation of the replica and came to take control of the building. The two friends opened the door wide and snuck out into the dark hall. There they heard a masculine voice say, "Boss, they're over here." Men were climbing the staircase. Ulrich got ready to slide down the railing to throw himself on the assailants, but Yumi signaled to him not to move. They huddled close to the railing so as not to be seen and held their breaths. Two large men with short hair wearing sunglasses and long black overcoats were rapidly scaling the steps and passed in front of them. The students dashed to the stairs. The first man nearly grabbed Yumi's arm and tried to catch her, in vain. He cried, "Stop, you two! You don't know what kind of a mess—" "Get on the ground! You are under arrest!" added the second man with a lisp. The two friends didn't listen to them and threw themselves onto the stairs, but only a simple slip-up and they'd end up on the ground and be taken. "We are armed, guys! Don't aggravate the situation!" yelled the man with a lisp. The other hollered on his walkie-talkie. "This is Weasel and Ferret to Lone Wolf. They're coming. They are on the 4th floor." "There's a third man," Ulrich murmured to Yumi. They were on the 1st floor when they crossed paths with Lone Wolf. He was also dressed all in black and was holding an enormous pistol at his hand. He aimed it at them and spoke, "Well, kids, the race ends here." But Ulrich and Yumi didn't listen to him either and ran down the hall to dive behind the final door. They were in an apartment identical to the one they just left, except that this one was empty. There was just carpet and some horrible wallpaper, plus some old abandoned chairs in a corner. Ulrich closed the door, blocking it off with a chair by placing it on the doorknob. What do you want to do now?" asked Yumi. "We're completely trapped." Ulrich pointed to the window. "When we entered the building, I noticed that there was a ledge and gutters on the facade. We could maybe—" "What? You're crazy!" she protested. "We're not in a movie." "Do you have a better idea?" he said, irritated, because the door isn't going to last for long. He hurried to the window and leaned it on the ledge. "Come on," he said to Yumi. "We're going to make it." It indeed wasn't like in the movies, where the ledges were always large enough to cross with ease. This one was barely 10 centimeters wide, just enough for the tips of their toes. And the closest gutter was 2 meters away. The two friends kept an eye on the street and the trees and the footpaths below, and saw a big black sedan, doors open, parked crookedly just in front of the door to the building. A little further away, a young pizza man had parked his orange and green scooter and was taking a pizza out from the luggage rack. Suddenly, the door gave way and Lone Wolf rushed into the apartment. Not the time to hesitate, Ulrich and Yumi ventured onto the ledge, with their bodies against the wall, faces pressed against the rough rock surface, and toes contracted to get a better footing. Ulrich leaned out as much as possible and managed to reach the metal gutter. He grabbed it desperately and stretched out his hand to help Yumi. Unfortunately, in the meantime, Weasel and Ferret came out from the building and got back into their car. They watched them from below. "Make fair you don't hurt yourself, kids," the man with a lisp spoke. "You're done running away here." "You're dreaming," muttered Ulrich. Slowly, the two friends slipped across the length of the gutter, but when they made it 2 meters from the ground, the man in black approached them, laughing. "Yumi, we have to jump," whispered Ulrich. "And then what? What do you think we do then?" He looked nervously below, looking for an idea that he managed to find without taking too much time. "The pizza man's scooter. We're going to take it." "Are you crazy?" exclaimed Yumi. "We don't have a choice," he responded. "On 3, we jump. 1, 2, 3. They launched themselves from the building and landed roughly on Weasel and Ferret. "Ah!" the two men cried. "Come on, Yumi!" cried Ulrich, rushing towards the scooter. "Quick, jump on behind me!" He started up the engine and left like a rocket, while Lone Wolf dashed into the building. Without waiting, the man jumped into the sedan with his two partners. Not only were Ulrich and Yumi not wearing helmets, but they had stolen a scooter. That's not to forget that they had broke open a door to an apartment and were now being chased down by a big car with 3 armed men on board. "What a day!" snickered Ulrich while slipping between cars. After Rue Lemanie, they went through a roundabout which took them to Molière Avenue. But they leaned so much while turning that the kickstand of the scooter rubbed against the bitumen and produced a cloud of sparks. "Try not to get us killed!" cried Yumi, hanging on to her friend. "Look behind us and tell me if they're gaining on us." The sedan was indeed approaching closer and closer, especially whenever the scooter went down a long avenue without traffic. "I get it!" exclaimed Ulrich. "We'll stay on the back roads." They turned onto the first small street on the right, then veered right away onto another on the left. In order to lose their assailants, the young boy went down a closed street and barely avoided an old van that beeped its horn at them to express its discontent. "Here, they can no longer follow us!" Ulrich cried out in a triumphant tone. "Actually, they can," replied his friend. "Look up!" Yumi pointed to the helicopter that, just like a big black buzzing fly, hadn't lost sight of them once since they left Rue Lemanie. "I forgot they also had a helicopter," sighed Ulrich. "All right, let's go back to the park where we were this morning. We'll lose them there." He took another 2 turns again at full speed, then sped into Long Diane Avenue that surrounded the park. But the black sedan suddenly emerged from around a corner, risking to overthrow the situation. The car headed straight towards them. Ulrich drove onto the footpath and began beeping like crazy to warn the pedestrians to get out of the way. Over there! There's an entrance! Hollered Yumi, pointing towards an entryway in the park's metal gate. Watch out for that guy! Cried Yumi, panicking. And the lady with the stroller! The helicopter was still above them, and the sedan was catching up. The scene looked like one out of an action film, except that this situation was real. We need something to slow them down, Ulrich stated aloud. Like what? Replied his friend. We've only got pizzas on us. Well, that's fine. What do you mean? Ulrich dodged a kid playing ball, giving him a smile so as not to scare him, then accelerated onto the gravel path. Throw them at them! Yumi moved to the seat of the scooter, managed to open the box full of pizzas, then released the first round of munitions. That one's a capriciosa pizza, judging by the scent, said Ulrich. That makes me hungry. You think this is the time for that? Responded his friend. Okay, I'm ready. Ulrich slowed down to let the sedan approach. Ferret opened the passenger window, stuck his head out, and clutched his gun. But when the car was only several meters away, Yumi threw the first pizza, which hit the man square in the face. His sunglasses slid while the mozzarella and tomato sauce dripped from his hair and clothes. Damn kids! Yelled the man. Bombs 2 and 3, 4 cheeses and margarita! Exclaimed Yumi while throwing pizzas onto the windscreen. The sedan swerved and turned on its windscreen wipers, but too late. The driver didn't see the empty bank on the right, and the car headed straight into it, then became stuck. The shock made smoke come out from the radiator. The 3 men in black crawled out from the car, one after the other. You have deadly aim, sung Ulrich in admiration. All right, now let's get out of here, responded Yumi with a smile. Under the close surveillance of the black helicopter, Yumi and Ulrich left the scooter near the Albert metro station. They hid the keys under the seat and added 50 euros there as well, which was all they had left. Ulrich would have just as well skipped over the reimbursement, but Yumi threw him a look and said, let's at least do something good today. They rushed into the halls of the metro and caught their breath. We did it, sighed Ulrich. At least there the helicopter can't follow us anymore, and the metro system is way too large. I challenged them to guess where we're going. Also, Yumi added, I added the telephone number of the pizzeria of the scooter we took. As soon as we get to the train station, I'll call them to tell them to go pick it up. Ulrich agreed and observed his friend. She had rosy cheeks, hair all messed up from the wind, and a tired smile, but in his eyes she had never been so beautiful before. It was his way to tell, we are more than just friends. Wasn't this the best time now to make it clear where they stand? Yumi, he stammered, I don't know if you remember. It was several days ago at Caddick, when I wanted to talk to you and we were interrupted by Sissy. I remember very well, she replied, placing a finger gently in his mouth. But we should get going. We can talk about it another time, don't you think? We have all the time in the world ahead of us. She approached him and gave him a small kiss on the cheek. Her mouth was soft and her beautiful perfume floated in the air. All that was needed to make his head spin. It was true, they had all the time in the world. He took her by the hand, and together they passed through the metro. They needed to return to Caddick as quickly as possible to tell Jeremy and the others that what they had discovered. It was 8 hours in the morning at Washington, but a lot of activity still continued to go on in the Bureau. For those working in certain domains, there really was no weekend off. Like every day, Dido showed up at 7 on the dot. She drank some coffee while leafing through the news and seeing what happened the night before. It was amazing how the journalist managed to write everything without ever succeeding in making the reader understand what really happened. The woman turned on her computer and started to study several reports when the phone rang. A call from Belgium, announced Maggie, her secretary. Send it through to me. With these words, Dido grew an ugly grin. It was an unexpected call, and for her, unexpected calls were never good news. There was a click while Maggie transferred the line. Then... This is Lone Wolf, said a masculine voice. Dido? Yes, it's me. The man was calling her on a public line. She could hear children crying and people angry in the background. Someone said, It is clear that this small fiffy faffid is of the best quality. Then a woman cried, You're nothing but delinquents and thugs. I'm going to call the police. Dido began to grow impatient and tapped her jewelry-covered fingers on the desk. Lone Wolf, she said, I hope that you realize that this call is in violation of all the security norms. Certainly, Dido, madam, but this is an emergency. The kids found the apartment on Rue Lemagny. That's the bad news. That could ruin the entire day. Did they find the replica? Asked the woman. Yes, madam, and they even activated it. We showed up 10 minutes after the signal was triggered. We unfortunately weren't prepared for a red alert here in Brussels. Bunch of useless, Dido exclaimed outside of her normal self. I even organized for you to have a team ready, and you were supposed to be. Well, replied Lone Wolf stupidly, but maybe they weren't able to enter the replica either, like what happened to us. They're kids! The woman hollered into the phone. We don't know what would happen were people of that age to try it. Give me a detailed account of what happened immediately. Well, Lone Wolf continued, we received the alert and we rushed to the scene. Agent Weasel, Ferret, and me, and Agents Martin and Fox were also on board a helicopter, but the kids managed to get away from us. They were armed, madam. Armed? Dido asked, surprised. Well, yes, exhaled a voice behind Lone Wolf. Explain to her how the pizzas were excellent weapons. That's enough, roared the woman. I don't want to hear anything more of it. Where are the kids? The helicopter wasn't able to follow them once they reached the metro, Lone Wolf continued. But this isn't a problem. They are surely headed towards the train station to return home. We can follow them up to Caddock and then intercept them. Dido sighed. She couldn't stand working with idiots. Forget it, she ordered, mortified. You've done enough damage for today. Just avoid having the people around you call the police. That's all we need for our government to excuse itself to the local forces. And then return to the apartment on Rue Lemagny. I want 3 men to watch it day and night until the next order. And forget the kids. I'll contact our agent at Caddock. They will resolve the situation. The agent at Caddock, said Lone Wolf, surprised. But, madam, he has no longer been in service since... An agent may never retire and never goes out of service, Lone Wolf. When you work with us, you don't leave so easily. Remember that, you. Dido hung up the telephone with a slam. She smiled, then returned to the receiver. Maggie, she said, more calm. Yes, the secretary responded. Find me the phone number of the agent for the City of the Iron Tower in France. We have an emergency. Chapter 15, Eva Skinner's Curse. Jeremy had insisted, with the man with 2 dogs wandering around the Hermitage and their parents' homes, they were best to remain hidden for as long as possible, and the best way to be discreet was to stay out in the open. So, instead of the Hermitage or a bedroom at Caddock, everyone was told to meet around 5 o'clock at the Café au Lait. Therefore, everyone, Jeremy, Aelita, Richard, Org, and Yumi, just returned from their trip to Brussels, were present. Everyone except Odd and Eva. Has anyone seen them? Org asked. Jeremy shrugged. They saw each other this morning, but I don't know anything other than that. You know Odd. He must be in the middle making goo-goo eyes at her. Did you try to call him? Yes, but he didn't respond. Aelita shook her head, incredulous. Org and Yumi let out their exasperation, which they'd been holding in until now. Aren't you interested to know what happened? We found a replica. And in it we saw the ghost of, one said, and the men in black, the other added, and the pizza. Calm down, Jeremy cut them off. That's the reason why we're here, to listen to you. But say everything in the right order. Did you manage to construct the electronic lockpick? Both speaking at the same time, the 2 students recounted what happened in Belgium, up until the incredible car chase through the streets of Brussels. Jeremy brought them up to date with what happened during their absence, the mysterious man at Yumi's house, and everything else. At the end of the story, the girl held her face in her hands, while Richard looked at his palm computer, seemingly embarrassed. Jeremy paced, hands behind his back. We're there, he finally murmured. We're on the verge of discovering something huge and Hopper in his supercomputer. What do you mean by that? Org asked. If you both seemed to see Hopper in the replica you found. Not seemed, Org protested. He was really there. So that means that the replica was constructed by Hopper himself, and that the professor inserted a copy of himself in it to give us clues. You mean give clues to the men in black, Yumi corrected. Who knows how many times they've been able to easily observe this mysterious city and speak with him? Yes, Jeremy continued, and I'd like to know what Miss Hertz has to do with all of this. But I think that all the mysteries are starting to have a link to one another. Firstly, there were the codes in Richard's palm computer, then the codes in Hertz's dossier, and finally this replica. It's as if Hopper left a series of traces that we have to follow. Maybe they're clues for finding my mother, Aelita breathed. Maybe, Jeremy said. It's highly likely that Hopper wanted us to solve this enigma that's close to his heart. In other words, Anthea's disappearance. The problem is that the file with the code has disappeared, and I don't know who took it or why. What if it was Professor Hertz who took it? Richard asked. She never goes into students' rooms, Jeremy announced. No, it was someone else. Ulrich intervened. You're forgetting one detail, because in the chase for the man, we're not alone. We have to confront 2 enemies that we barely even know. On one side, there are the men in black, who are armed and have a helicopter and cars, and maybe even more. And on the other, there's the man with 2 dogs, who's wandering around the city and who wants to kidnap our parents. Could this man be part of the men in black? Yumi suggested. Impossible, Jeremy replied. They work differently. The man with two dogs acts alone. He uses technology straight out of science fiction, and he doesn't care about laws or any of that sort of stuff. The men in black, on the other hand, seem like government agents or something of the sort. Do you have any idea the number of authorizations required to fly a helicopter above a city? The police know them and leave them alone, that's for sure. So Ulrich is right, as well as us. There are 2 other groups investigating the Franz Hopper case. Then Jeremy sat back down, exhausted. Guys, he sighed. We need to move forward by reflecting on each step, or we won't get anywhere. The problem is very, very delicate, and if you ask me, first of all, you need to go find Odd. Yesterday he told me that he wanted to see Eva, but didn't elaborate. Before deciding what we're going to do, let's try to assemble as many elements as possible in this puzzle, and above all, stick together. You said you need, and not we need, to go find Odd, Richard asked Jeremy. You aren't coming? No, if it doesn't bother you, I'd like to borrow your Palm computer. That way I can start to study the code. In my room, I have a series of notes in this whole thing, and I can reflect on it alone, and in silence. So, you go find Odd, and we'll all meet up tomorrow after school. What do you say? Proposition accepted, boss, Ulrich nodded. Well, let's go find that slacker Odd. Jeremy watched his friends leave the cafe. Then he paid for the food and exited into the January cold. In reality, he had no intention of shutting himself in his room, at least not right away. He walked aimlessly around the city streets, and then he found himself in front of the Hermitage. There he understood where the place he really wanted to go was. He passed the villa gate, then went through a hole in the fence at the bottom of the garden to arrive directly in Caddick's Park. The morning's torrential rain had melted the snow, making the undergrowth muddy. He headed towards the manhole hidden in the ground. He slid the cover to the side, then began to descend into the sewers. He walked the same path he'd taken many times before, and then climbed back up the iron bridge to the old abandoned factory. He took the elevator to reach the 3 underground levels, right down to the supercomputer room at the heart of the factory. The atmosphere was somber and quiet. Near the door on the ground there was a manhole through which he had gone and discovered this secret and mysterious place. He again remembered the enigma that he had to solve to open the cover. Delenda was the question, and the response had been Carthago. The wordplay came from a Latin phrase meaning Carthage must be destroyed, and it was a long time after, during the video found in the secret room in the Hermitage, that Hopper had explained what this Carthage really was, the monster it contained, and why it was to be destroyed. Jeremy approached the enormous and unique cylinder that sat in the room. This metallic column reached the ceiling. It was cold and perfectly smooth, apart from its lever switch that came out of the base. If he'd pulled a lever, the room would have been immediately bathed in light, and on the cylinder the 1,000-colored lights of circuits would glisten as they began to work again. The old factory would come back to life. The scanners on the second underground floor would reactivate, and the command terminal would light up once again. The return of Lyoko. And only Lyoko? Or also Xana, the creature they were convinced they'd all annihilated for good? Mechanically, Jeremy posed his hand on the lever. His fingers then wrapped around it to lower the switch and once again activate the supercomputer. Suddenly, he stepped back, startled. Was there someone there with him? His breathing became more rapid. No, he was probably just scared of himself. Jeremy was alone in the factory. Nobody could have followed him. Xana? He whispered. No response. Odd was bound and gagged in the living room of the girl he had thought would be his future girlfriend. Eva had succeeded in rendering him defenseless with impressive agility. Before he could even say a word, he found himself on the ground, his ankles and wrists bound by a thick rope that rubbed against his skin, and the poor boy had to avoid arching his back, or the rope would cut into his body. As for the gag, it was so tight that he was having trouble breathing. But where had the girl learned of such knots? No, she wasn't a girl. He had to keep reminding himself. Eva was the enemy. Eva was Xana. She was seated on the floor beside Odd, with her laptop on her knees. She was analyzing a series of images and files, the video of Aelita's mother, some photos of Professor Hertz, and scientific articles. From time to time, to distract herself a little, she would open a series of images that seemed to come from a video game. In them was a sci-fi-like city that seemed somewhat oriental. There were azure roofs in the form of pagodas and transparent colored pathways intertwined around towers. Eva looked and sighed, but when Odd tried to ask her a question about the gag, she ignored him completely. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Eva put the computer down and got up. You, she said to Odd, don't make a sound. If not, I'll be forced to hurt the person that has just disturbed us, and I'm sure that will displease you. When she responded to the intercom, her voice immediately changed. It was now that of a mature man. Yes? Hello, the intercom crackled. I'm Ulrich, a classmate of Eva's. I'm here with other friends. Is Eva there, please? When he heard his friend's voice, Odd twitched. He had to slide across the floor, reach the door, and warn them. Eva responded in the man's voice. No, I'm sorry. My daughter went out with a friend, a boy named Odd. Okay, but it's just, well... "Excuse me, children," the masculine voice continued. "I'm very busy." She hung up and turned to Odd, smiling. She started using her normal voice again. "You see? Nobody was hurt. You were perfect." Eva went to the window to see if the others were leaving the house. Then she approached Odd. Her self-assurance was terrifying. She skillfully removed the gag that was preventing the boy from speaking. "Arg! Off! My friends!" "You're not happy?" she sneered. "I let them go without hurting them. I have the impression that you wanted to tell me something. What?" "Can I have water?" Odd asked. "This thing was choking me." Eva laughed heartily, and in her laugh the girl's voice mingled with a deeper and more twisted one belonging to the being within her. "Water?" she said. "You just have to go find it, my boy. Wasn't it you and your friends who said that Xana was defeated?" It was a nightmare. Odd knew Xana. He had fought him many times, and he had been someone possessed by the artificial intelligence, and he had seen someone possessed by the artificial intelligence that lived in Lyoko. But this was different. Eva seemed like a normal girl, in both voice and expressions, and then, when William Dummer was possessed by Xana, the eye, his sign, occasionally appeared in his pupils. Eva had no sign, not to mention, the monster no longer lived in Lyoko. Lyoko was currently deactivated. Had he evolved? And how was it possible that each of them didn't notice anything? "What are you going to do?" Odd asked. "Good question. Destroy you." "Of course," Xana's voice responded coldly. "And then destroy every being that gets in my way." "But why?" Eva didn't seem to be herself anymore. Her voice was metallic and her face expressionless. "Because you humans, you're wrong. And now you're going to pay for your mistakes. You think you're superior, the kings of the world, but you'll soon discover that that's not the case. I've already prepared an infallible plan." Eva returned to her laptop and pressed several keys until a photo appeared. It was that of a man whose face was half hidden by a hat, and his open mouth highlighted horrible canine teeth made of gold. "I'll use of this man, who you probably don't even know yet," Xana said. "Then I'll use this girl, Eva." Then the creature looked at Odd, who for the first time felt completely horrified. "And then I'll use you, Adelarobia. You'll be of precious use to me." Before the student could do anything to stop her, Eva leaned forward and took his face between her hands. Her fingers were icy like death. Then the girl's face approached Odd's, closing the gap between them little by little. Lips parted. "Please," he whispered. They kissed. An intense smoke then exited Eva's lips and entered Odd's. Then everything became obscure for him, and everything changed. Eva stood and quickly united the ropes restraining the boy. "I'm ready," Odd announced in a bizarre and trembling voice. Then he started laughing in the same metallic voice as Xana's. "Controlling this boy was much easier than the girl, because he has a rudimentary mind. Wow, great, I already feel more at ease in this boy's skin." "Sure, it's time to go," Eva said with a wink. "The other snotty brats must surely be wondering where we've gone." midday at the Washington office. Dido had remained alone. That was exactly what she wanted. She had proposed to her secretary to take a few hours off for lunch with friends. This building was part of an office complex, but behind its grayish facade hid the best security technology on the market. However, Dido was convinced that the old methods were a lot more secure. She also continued to distrust her secretary. As though she trusted her a little, she could always listen in on and record her phone calls. Dido nervously lit a cigarette. She had so hoped that the Hopper affair would be closed for a long time, and archived in a file with the label "Authorized Personnel Only." It was a failure, certainly, but one that dated back more than 10 years. In the meantime, her life had advanced, as had her career. She no longer thought about the professor and his sophisticated computers. On the other hand, today, this old story bounced back with the force of an atomic bomb. Dido always had 3 keys in her office. She kept them in 3 different spots in the room to open the secret drawer in her desk. From it, she took out an old diary filled with code. She turned the computer on and entered its repertoire. Then she typed a series of passwords composed of numbers and letters. As soon as she did this, the computer displayed the telephone number she needed. Finally, before dialing it, Dido activated all the anti-intercept protections she had. The speaker responded on the 3rd ring. Their voice seemed deformed by some device, but it mattered little, as Dido's voice was also as distorted. "Madam, it's been a long time. The line is secure, I imagine?" "Of course, Hannibal." Dido closed her eyes. As she did so, the image of the man she was talking to returned to her. He had the shifty eyes of a lizard, a large mouth, and gold canine teeth. His hands were swollen and covered with rings. Hannibal had always had a taste for jewelry and flashy things. Dido remembered, even though they had only met but 3 times. But that was more than enough, because this man made her nauseous. To what do I owe this call? The man said, and this honor. The network in France is operational again, responded Dido, and we've just discovered that one of your men is there. Judging by his modus operandi, I suppose that it's Grigory Nectopoulos. I think this information is accurate, sneered the man with golden teeth. You haven't changed, she replied in a dry tone. When there's a job to do, you always send that man and his horrible dogs. So, I want to know why he's in Cadix City. What is hidden there, Hannibal? What exactly do you have in mind? The man paused, then continued. What you told us 6 years ago did not please us, Dido. The factory and the Oka were ours, and their construction was commissioned by the Green Phoenix, and you pushed Walter to stop everything. But the moment came to count our losses. A new game has started, and the cards are in our hands, and the very good cards, too. You're talking about Anthea Schaefer, I suppose? Dido asked. We know that she's in your hands. Hey, now. You'd better not be hoping that I'm going to tell you about that, Hannibal sneered. It's a little early in the stages of negotiation. The woman was silent. Hannibal was an old fox. She knew that it was useless to try and make him fall into such a simple trap. He was called the Magician for a reason. This cultureless man, the son of very poor farmers, had actually managed to become head of one of the oldest mafia organizations. Dido could not underestimate her adversary, a true rattlesnake. What do you want? She finally asked. The Green Phoenix wants to participate in the operation and make a profit out of it, the magician replied. So, here is my proposition. We let you bury this story once and for all, and in exchange, you allow us to look at the plans of the old abandoned computer in the factory. In your dreams, Dido was about to respond, but she didn't have time. Hannibal had already hung up.
Bum 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 bum.
Wow.
The plot thickens.
There's so much going on, honestly.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, this story gets complicated.
Of course, the bloodthirsty jackass is named Hannibal.
Has to be.
Has to be. For all we know, he'll probably be eating someone alive by the end of this.
And that's okay.
So that roast just in the middle of the chapter. Oh wow, this guy was easy to possess. He put up much less resistance than Ava.
Yep. So sad.
Never mind that it totally ignores the lore that the warriors can't be possessed under normal circumstances.
And this is like an exceptionally weakened Xana too.
Yeah. You really shouldn't be able to possess anybody at this point, but you know,
I
we
mean,
need to have our
unless you
evil
want to
plot.
argue the warriors have been away from Lyoko long enough and the computer being off, their immunity's waned. But
Maybe.
even then.
Yeah.
So it's the city Xanadu? Like, is that what's going on here?
It's not. Well, it kind of is in the fact that it's a virtual world created before Lyoko, but it's not called Xanadu.
God damn it.
Missed opportunity.
Someone
It is. The city, the name they come up with for it is actually kind of lame, but oh well.
Yeah.
It works, but it's just like, really?
That's something else I want to say. I can't remember it now. Shit.
Then again, I guess it fits in. Never mind. I don't want to give too much away.
Fair enough.
I was gonna say something else and I can't even remember it. No.
So we're close. We're close to the end of this book. We have one more chapter and an epilogue, and then we're done.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
for real? Wow.
No, tomorrow we start book 3.
Yeah, Xana's just been like really riding the back burner on this plan. Yep. Like, I'm proud of him. He's actually learned to stop being such a cocky asshole. Except now he's being a cocky asshole, so we all know where this is gonna go.
Yep. He eased up on the theatrics, but now he's like, wait a minute, I can win this! I can win this! Yeah!
Exactly where he went wrong last time. That's not what I wanted to bring up. I still can't remember what I wanted to bring up. But
Ulrich's almost sealed the deal?
No, it wasn't that. Shit, why did I get it?
Oh, that whole crazy scene where Org and Yumi run away from the agents of the Men in Black and defeat them with pizza.
I already said everything. That scene is
That's a fun
perfection,
scene.
and Wazy, I swear to fucking God, if we don't put it in eradication, I'm going to kill you.
Oh my god.
That scene
If I
has
must.
to be in eradication because I want to draw it. I want to draw
my god.
it. It's
It
gonna
is
be
a fun
amazing.
scene. It's so silly. And then you got like Weasel's just like, they had pizza. They had pizza. They were armed with pizza.
I feel like Weasel was that.
Pizza's the dangerous weapon.
Weasel is clearly that kid who that special ed kid. He's very clearly.
Well, he's got a list. I mean, he works for the government. Like they wouldn't just hire someone who couldn't do their job.
He's a little.
I know they
he's a
kind of
little,
portray the Men in Black like they're goons, but they're not supposed to be. That was a fun scene.
Yumi threw the pizza.
I kind of forget that Oryx is vertigo, and he really should have had a problem like climbing out of the second story and getting down there.
He doesn't have climbing out the second story maybe. He doesn't have issues riding the overbike in flying mode though. So maybe the virtual worlds suppress the
overbike suppresses it because I do notice he doesn't put it in flying mode all that often. Like I think he tries to avoid it in the too.
I still argue the show forgot.
I'm on the
because of plot. You know how many plot issues would be resolved if Elric would just put the fucking overbike in flying mode?
Yeah, but he doesn't like to put it in flying mode. I can buy that.
I can buy it, but we know that's not the reason that they put it out of flight mode. It's because honestly, I'm still under the impression that they forgot. Honestly, the overbike so rarely flies that you don't really think about it. That honestly, for a while, I forgot too. And then one day, I'm like, wait a minute. So,
I think he uses it to fly in common interest when the ice sector is disappearing.
I mean, fair.
So,
but
like they use it for some very plot and for some very important moments where if he's not using it, he is dead. But like,
true.
Other times where he just should be using it, he doesn't, and it's like, why? It's not even like sometimes like it changed the outcome or the progression. Like he's literally just not in flying mode because what is it I wanted to think of? It's too late. It's over. No, I can't remember it.
John, can't believe it.
Oh, now I remember. Yes. So it's bitumen.
Oh yeah, that. I read it bitumen. I'm just like, it's bitumen. It's not bitumen. I didn't even know what that was. I'm just like, that's the word I'm using.
So
you explain.
It's the binding agent in asphalt. So you have gravel, sand, and then bitumen, and that's how you make asphalt.
Weird translation thing that they decided.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of interested.
Probably,
it was interesting they didn't use asphalt, but they're also rookie translators, so I can't entirely fault them. But yeah,
without them, we wouldn't have Chronicles at all unless you're willing to learn a whole new language. So,
but like, yeah, no, it's basically so like how cement. It's cement to concrete, bitumen is to asphalt. It's just what binds all the different elements of the mixture to form from the road surface. It's also extremely recyclable. Like you can tear up a road And you get like 90% of the bitumen back. It's freaking amazing.
Ready for the final chapter
Yep.
and then the epilogue. So
Let's
Here
go on
we
to the
go.
final chapter in the epilogue.
This is it.
Chapter 16, The Hermitage's Last Secret. Aelita woke up at 3 in the morning with a jolt. Had she been sleepwalking again? Yes, apparently, because she didn't know where she was. But this time, the dream had been really terrible. On Lyoko, then in a science fiction city where the man with 2 dogs and the ghost of her father were wandering around. She was in her pajamas, covered in sweat and shaking in fear. But what happened? She stood up, blinked, looked around to get her bearings, and found herself behind a television set. The room was almost empty. There was just a small sofa and a small door, and it was so low that one would need to crawl on all fours to get through. This was the secret room of the Hermitage that she and her friends had found together thanks to the plan that her father had nicely drawn in ink in a notebook. If the young girl had come there, it could only mean that she had, in her sleep, crossed through the entire passage leading from Caddick to the cellar of the villa. A bit lost, she looked at the white wall in front of her. It had scratch marks all over it as if an animal had desperately tried to get through. Immediately, Aelita looked down at her hands. Her nails were full of plaster, and the ends of her fingers were worn down to the point of being covered in blood. So it had been she, during her sleep, who had lacerated the wall. But why? She placed her ear against the wall and tapped it several times. Judging by the sound, the wall sounded hollow on the other side. She needed to break through it immediately to discover what lay on the other side. Aelita began searching for a tool, anything she could use, to break through this wall. She entered the storeroom where she and Jeremy had earlier found sacks of cement with the address of the Brûlé Company. This was the first hint that drove them to discover the secret room. The storeroom was narrow and full of bricks, dusty sacks, and other mason tools. But, lying at an angle, there was an old, slightly rusted pickaxe. That would be perfect for the job! She dragged the pickaxe into the secret room, then pushed the television set far from the wall to make room. She sweated and panted from all the effort. The pickaxe was very heavy. However, Aelita wasn't worried by the fatigue now that she was persuaded that the Hermitage was hiding another secret, and her dream had shown her the way to uncover it. She lifted the tool and struck it against the wall, but the wooden handle slipped through her hands and merely chipped away at the primer. She had to keep trying. She moved her hands further apart on the length of the handle, caught her breath, then hurled the pickaxe with all her might against the wall. It gave away in one hit, leaving the young girl coughing by the dust and debris. This wall had been built with the intent to be easily demolished. Her father had wished for her to discover this new secret room, constructed behind the first. The words of Philippe Brûlé, the mason who had worked for her father, came back to her. It must have been about 10 years ago, but I remember it well. Hopper asked a personal favor of me. I had to return to the Hermitage and wall up a section of the house, so as to create a hidden room invisible from the outside. A section of the house is what he had said, not just a room. Their answer had been right in front of their eyes since the start, and they hadn't seen it. Aelita had broken a hole into the wall about 30 centimeters wide. She rubbed her eyes, which were red from all the dust, and looked through the hole. Her mouth opened wide. She took hold of the pickaxe to enlarge the hole and passed through to the other side. Her phone! She needed to call Jeremy right away, but she didn't have her phone on her since she had arrived there by sleepwalking, dressed only in her pajamas. She made a quick U-turn. That night, Jeremy went to sleep as soon as he had laid his head on his pillow, exhausted by the emotions of the past few days. However, he jumped awake when he heard knocking on his bedroom door. Who is it? It's me, Aelita. Can I come in? He hurried to open the door for his friend. He thought he had seen a ghost at first when he saw her swollen eyes and disheveled hair. She was also dressed in a funny pair of jeans made up of different colored fabric and a sweatshirt. Aelita, stammered Jeremy. But what time is it? What are you doing here? Come on, we have to hurry. But what? Come on, quick, she insisted. Put on some pants. It's very important. Jeremy obeyed. Then together they crossed through the deserted dormitory halls. They left through the park at Caddick and weaved silently through the trees, then passed through the hole in the fence to finally arrive at the Hermitage. The young girl didn't utter a word until they reached the basement. Once there, she motioned towards the secret room and murmured, "Get ready for a great surprise, Jeremy." Together, they activated the mechanism to open the way into the secret room. The boy entered first and saw the hole in the wall, and he as well was shocked to silence. Aelita had found a new room, bigger than the first, and illuminated by a large neon light. The center of the room contained a scanner, similar to the ones at the abandoned factory, but that appeared older. On a sign on the sliding door, an inscription was flashing, "Caution! Danger! Unsafe for those over 18 years of age." There was also a large supercomputer beside the wall hooked up to the scanner. Jeremy caught a glimpse of a control terminal, too. It was a version much more primitive than the command console underground at the factory. "But, Aelita," he exhaled once he recovered from the shock, "you found Lyoko."
"Well, one of its replicas, like the one that Yumi and Ulrich saw in Brussels, or quite close to it. Okay, I'm going to take the scanner right away to go visit this world."
"You can't do that all alone," immediately replied Jeremy while adjusting his glasses. "We need to call Yumi, Ulrich, and Odd. It could be dangerous. We need to..." Aelita approached her friend and placed her hands on his shoulder. She was so close to him that he could smell her sweet perfume.
"I called you because I need you at the controls," she explained. "It's my duty to enter the replica. My father guided me here in a series of dreams, and I know that he would want it to be me who is virtualized on this replica. So, do you want to help me?"
Jeremy blushed, then took Aelita into his arms. All right, leave it to me." In a beam of light, the body of the young girl lifted into the air to be transformed, then returned to touch the ground. Aelita had again taken her elf-like appearance, and the landscape surrounding her resembled the forest sector of Lyoko. But it wasn't exactly the same. The sky was like a plain azure color, without any differing shades, and the ground was a simple extended green. For a moment she was hit by a wave of vertigo from the virtualization. In front of her there were 3 trees. They were large oak trees with brown trunks and large leaves that reflected a game of shadows and light on the ground. Apart from them, there wasn't anything else, just a flat green and blue surface that extended as far as the eye could see. "Is everything all right?" asked Jeremy from his post at the controls. Aelita heard the voice of her friend directly in her ear.
"Yes," she replied. "I'm a bit scared, but all right."
"I wonder what the inscription means on the scanner. Danger for those over 18 years of age," added Jeremy pensively.
"Well, I'm a minor, so everything should be fine," responded Aelita. "Also, I don't think there are any monsters around here. There isn't even a city, just 3 trees.
She took several steps in their direction, then ran up to them. She approached the first tree, then Jeremy announced, "A message just appeared on my screen. It says that this tree is number
1. There is a date, 1985, and an inscription, End of Project Carthage."
The young girl lightly touched the trunk of the big tree, and right away a long and narrow hole opened up, revealing an empty space. She observed it for a moment, then entered.
"How about now?"
she asked her friend. "I have no clue," he responded. Aelita found herself in a huge deserted laboratory without any windows. It was cluttered with metal tables, machines, big microscopes, and computers, but no chairs. And a series of neon lights illuminated the room. "Ah, it's you," a voice spoke. Aelita turned towards it abruptly. Her father. She saw her father, Franz Hopper, leaning over a microscope and dressed in a white lab coat. And beside him she saw a beautiful woman with red hair, also in a lab coat.
"Daddy! Mommy!"
she cried out, running to hug them, but she passed through her parents as if they were ghosts and fell with a thump against the microscope table. She quickly stood up, called to them again, and tried to hug them. Sadly, she wasn't even able to touch them. "Calm down, Aelita," Jeremy gently spoke. "My screen is covered with notes. What you are currently seeing is a simulation, or rather, a 3-dimensional recording of something that happened long ago. I'd say, in 1985. Your parents aren't real. You can't touch them, and they can't hear you." Aelita threw her fist against the table and cried out in anger, "It's not fair!" "I know," he sighed. "But if your father wanted to show you something, you should pay attention and listen. Don't you think?" At the same time, the professor raised his nose from his microscope and turned towards his wife. Then he gave a slight smile from under his beard and said, "Anthea, I'm tired."
"I know, dear. How far along are you?"
"It won't be much longer. 2 months, maybe 3, and then finally, Project Carthage will be functioning. We did it. It will be a great day for the entire world." After these words, a faint sadness swept across Anthea's eyes. "My love," said Hopper, concerned, "what's wrong?"
"I found the documents that we were looking for. It wasn't easy."
"So?" insisted the professor.
"Unfortunately, our doubts were well-founded. Carthage will not save the world, but the opposite. It could even help destroy it, because inside the first city, they inserted a dark zone that we cannot control and that will transform Carthage into a weapon of mass destruction."
Hopper closed his fists. Immediately the laboratory, he and his wife, and the whole virtual world dissolved around Aelita as if someone had melted it with acid. The young girl found herself now in a small and very welcoming living room. There was a couch, a red floral rug, and large bookshelves on all the walls. Her father was sitting on the couch with his head between his hands, and his wife was holding him tenderly. A little girl 3 years of age was playing on the ground. She was wearing a silly little pink dress and had bright red hair, all cut short. She had with her a doll in the form of an elf. "Mr. Puck!" cried Aelita. "Oh, Mr. Puck!" cried Aelita while looking at the doll. "Yes, it's your favorite toy," announced Jeremy from the computer. "So this little girl must be you, like you were in the past. You were cute." In the living room, Anthea was murmuring something into Professor Hopper's ear. No, he shouted, raising his head. "We sacrificed our whole lives for this project. Our daughter was born in a military base, and we haven't been able to see anyone for months. And all that for what? To create a new weapon? I won't allow it." "Speak more quietly, dear," responded Anthea. "The room may be under surveillance. From now on, we can no longer be sure of anything." "I couldn't care less," rumbled Aelita's father. "So what if they hear? I built Carthage to bring the world to a better place and not to drive it to its ruin. The electronic communications controls should serve to provide low-cost services to everyone, including those in the Third World or in great difficulty. But these maniacs only want to take advantage of it as a weapon for control in their stupid war. Personally, I don't care if a person is Russian or American. They are still human beings, all equal." "I agree with you," Anthea responded, hugging him. "But what can we do? They are now capable of ending the project, even without our help. And don't forget Aelita. If we expose too much, who will take care of her?" The couple remained quiet for a good while, observing the little girl playing on the carpet, laughing and hugging her toy. Hopper then murmured, "We can escape. I don't know how yet, but we'll do it. If we created Carthage, even though everyone thought it was crazy, then we can do plenty of other things. We will destroy what we built. They'll be left with nothing, and we'll escape with our dear Aelita. But we'll bring the fruits of all our years of sacrifice and labor with us, and we'll find a way to continue to study somewhere else to give birth to a new Carthage." On the rug, the little girl smiled to her parents and babbled, "Lyoko!" Hopper reached out a hand across her face and said, "Lyoko? Yes, my dear. If we build a new Carthage, we could call it Lyoko. It's a wonderful name." Suddenly, Aelita found herself back in the vast plains in front of the tree. "It's over?" she asked Jeremy. "Almost. I just have to finish saving it. By the way, aren't there still the other trees? According to my computer, the next tree covers the period of time from 1985 to 1988 and is called A Life Incognito." The young girl took the several steps that separated her from the second oak tree. Then she reached out her hand, and once again the trunk opened up to let her pass through. This time she found herself in the courtyard of a military base. It was very cold. The blockhouses of cement were covered by snow, and large searchlights swept the courtyard, illuminating in fits and starts the surrounding walls and the rolls of barbed wire. Men were restless in every sense, holding big dogs on leashes. Helicopters lifted up into the sky, and sirens were blaring, provoking a lot of movement below. Aelita noticed a couple crossing the courtyard and rushing toward the jeep. They were a slender woman and a stocky man, both wrapped in large hooded military coats to protect themselves from the cold. Were these her parents? She decided not to take the risk of letting them out of her sight and dived into the seat in the back of the jeep. A moment later, the woman took to the steering wheel and removed her hood. The man sat in the passenger seat and remained hooded. Aelita placed her hand in front of her mouth to stifle a surprised gasp. This person wasn't her mother, but a young woman with thick, black, curly hair and a dainty nose. She knew this face. It seemed to her as if she had seen it before somewhere else, but where? She couldn't remember. "Professor Schaefer," said the woman while starting the car. "Stay calm and let me handle this. They won't stop us, you'll see." The man nodded. He finally opened an enlarged coat, and a smiling, small, red head of hair came out of it. Hopper hugged the girl and immediately sheltered her from sight. "Be sweet, Aelita," he said softly. "No one must know that you're here, so don't make any noise. Be on your best behavior, and in a bit you'll be able to go to bed, I promise." "You're already a little brat," laughed Jeremy in Aelita's ear. The young girl didn't reply. She was too busy watching the scene unfold around her. She wanted to hear everything. The jeep started up and crossed the courtyard to meet up at a checkpoint where a metallic sentry box was protecting a double barrier. This was the exit. 2 soldiers left the lookout post, all wrapped up warmly and with their guns over their shoulders. One of the 2 pointed his gun towards the jeep, while the other headed towards the window and greeted the woman who was driving. "Good evening, Major Steinbeck." "At ease, soldier," she responded, "and open the barrier. I'm in a hurry." "Sorry, Major, but the barrier won't be opening tonight. There was a violation of security code in the colonel." "The colonel personally ordered me to leave the base on a mission of absolute priority," replied the driver frenetically. See this man behind me? He isn't hiding his face for nothing. I have an ID that gives me full power here, and I can guarantee you that if this barrier doesn't open in the next 10 seconds, starting tomorrow and for the rest of your life, you'll be doing nothing other than cleaning the toilets from morning till night. The soldier remained still for a second, then finished by saying, "Yes, Major, I'll open the barrier right away." In the Jeep, the professor smiled. "Permission from the colonel?" "I have my connections, Professor. Don't worry," she murmured. The Jeep passed the barrier and raced off into the night on an icy road. The base was located at the top of a small hill bordered by birch trees covered with snow that went on past the horizon. Hopper began to speak again. "How could I not worry? Alita and I are saved, but Anthea—" "You'll find her, Professor," responded the woman. "You have my word. I have my contacts, and they are already on the job. Soon we will know just who took her and why, and we'll be able to escape with her also. For the time being, the most important thing is that you are admitted out with the documents. I was called the Relentless, remember? I don't have the right to make a mistake." Alita fell from the back seat and found herself directly on an embankment. The change of scenery was so jarring that it made her head spin. Now she was under the sun in the yard of a simple cottage surrounded by other similar houses, far away up in the mountains and the snowy peaks. Her father wore a suit and tie and had a leather briefcase. He climbed up to the house and opened the door with a small key. A car then pulled over in the yard, and a driver stepped out. It was the woman who had helped the professor escape before. She was in a military outfit and wore her ranks on her shoulder. "Allow me, Major," said Hopper, opening the door to the house. "After you." "Thank you. We can talk in peace." Alita followed the two adults inside. The two pieces of furniture they had were old and out of fashion. It seemed like a home without a soul that was only being rented for a brief amount of time. Hopper showed the Major to a seat, then went to prepare some coffee. "How is the little one doing?" asked the woman. "Very well. Alita has a great babysitter, but I plan to enroll her in nursery school soon. She is old enough now, and she needs to be around other kids." "I'm sorry, Professor," spoke Major Steinbeck, "but you'll need to move again in less than a month." "That's a shame," sighed Alita's father. "I was getting used to being employee Henry Zopfi." "We'll give you a new identity and another place to work." Again. The Major took the cup of coffee that Hopper handed to her. She drank some of it and spoke. "You know why I'm here. I have news for you." "You found Anthea?" asked Hopper, his eyes suddenly glimmering. "Not yet, unfortunately, but we finished our research and we know who is responsible for taking her. A soldier who had left at the time of your wife's disappearance." "I want to see this file," cried the professor straight away. "I figured as much, so I brought it for you," she continued. "But I recommend you don't do anything stupid and let me work on the investigation. The man is named Mark James Hollenbach. He's 21 years old. He entered the army at 16 years old, and he worked at the base of the project for a year. We don't know why he decided to do such a stupid thing yet, but we're on his trail." Alita etched this name into her mind. Hollenbach. Mark Hollenbach. The man who took her mother. Then the scene changed again. The young girl found herself underneath the porch of the Hermitage on a cold winter morning, or at least it must have been cold, judging by the color of the sky and the movement of the trees shaken by the wind, but she couldn't feel anything. On the door of the house, someone had just attached a panel, "Sold." A small van arrived, lurching when braking, and pulled up in front of the Hermitage. Alita climbed out. She was now 6 years of age and already better resembled the young girl who was watching her double from under the front porch. Are we here, Daddy?" asked the little girl. "Yes," responded her father, now descending himself from the van. From sitting in the driver's seat, Major Steinbeck got out, this time in civilian clothes. She was wearing a red shirt and a pair of jeans. "And here is your new home," she announced to the professor in a cheerful tone of voice. "If all goes well, you can sign Alita up for school and settle in a bit." Under the porch, the young elf girl smiled to see these two be less formal with each other. How many years had passed since her escape from the military base? At least 2 or 3. Her father and the Major started to unload the boxes from the van into the house, while little Alita played in the yard. So who will I be starting from today?" asked the professor. "Your new identity will make you quite happy," answered the woman. "You are Franz Hopper, science teacher at Caddick Academy, which is close by here. I will also be working at the school under a fake name. That way I'll be able to watch over you." They laughed. Then Walter Schaefer officially became Franz Hopper and added with a grave tone, "What interests me is to be able to get back to my research as quickly as possible, and especially to find Anthea." "I've already made contact with a local manufacturer," the woman assured him. "He possesses a factory not far from here. We can reconstruct the underground level and transform it into a factory. The owner will give us his response in a bit, and he seemed very interested by our research." "And Hollenbach?" asked Hopper with a bit of anxiety in his voice. "Unfortunately, I haven't gotten any more news about him for some time now. He changed his name and joined a criminal organization. He managed to cover his tracks. We thought he was an idiot, but actually he is very intelligent. We even call him the magician. Hopper placed a big crate in the ground and showed his friend the pendant that he wore under his sweater. This was the one that Aelita knew, with the W and the A engraved on it. And Thea is alive and doing well, said the professor. That's what this pendant tells me. So I will continue to look for her day and night until I find her. I will always be here to help you, assured Major Steinbeck. And Thea was my best friend. I swore to bring her back to you and your daughter, no matter what. Aelita once again found herself in front of the hollow tree on the strange flatland of the replica. Being in a virtual world was always tiring for her and often gave her vertigo, but this time, with all these stories, her father and the disappearance of her mother, and finally this Major Steinbeck who was working for the army and who Aelita had never heard of before... Go on, Jeremy urged. Face the third tree. What does the computer say? Asked the young girl. It's not very clear, answered the schoolboy with a yawn. It's written that we'll access a new level of the replica. There's also this note. Enter only when your heart is ready. But I'm super ready, declared Aelita. Let's go. Jeremy replied, yawning once more. Maybe this isn't a good idea. It's 5 in the morning, you haven't slept, and for tonight, you've already had a big dose of surprises, right? The replica won't run away. It'd be better to come back with the others when we are more rested. At the end of the day, we didn't find any monsters. But we don't know what could be hiding on the new levels of this strange private diary. Jeremy's yawns were contagious because Aelita suddenly felt very tired too. Maybe you might be right, she sighed. Perfect, cried her friend. Then get ready, because materialization! The young girl watched her body devirtualize. Her arms and her legs became completely transparent and eventually disappeared. The instant afterwards, she blinked and saw that she was already inside the scanner in the secret room of the Hermitage. The door of the scanner slid to the side. Jeremy was there to hug her. How are you? He asked her sweetly. Good, really good, she replied. I need a bit to sleep. They laughed.
Alright, we're just gonna take one quick pause here. Darkzana has graced us with pizza time.
Hey,
All right.
the epilogue is only like a minute.
Pizza time.
No, we have to show pizza time, Ulrich. I love it. I love it so much. It's beautiful. There's only one person who probably loves us more than me, and it would be Twigs. It would be Twigs.
10 out of 10, Darkzana. You did an amazing job.
This fits.
Epilogue.
All right, epilogue time.
Epilogue. Oh, Odd, finally you're here, cried Ulrich upon seeing his friend crossing the school hallway with Eva. The two school kids were holding hands, and the young boy had a dazzling smile. Ha ha, snickered Yumi. So that's why we didn't see you yesterday. You were too busy. So, Odd, what's been going on? Asked Ulrich. What have you been up to? Tell us everything. Oh, nothing in particular, responded the runaway. I just went for a little stroll. Suddenly, Jeremy and Aelita joined the group of friends. Both seemed not to have slept a wink. So, what's with you guys today? Insisted Ulrich, surprised. Jeremy adjusted his glasses on the end of his nose and announced, We have some news! Yesterday, Aelita discovered a new secret room in the cellar of the Hermitage. Wow, that's so cool! Exclaimed Dot. What was inside? Everyone gathered in a circle to listen to Aelita. She started to tell them about all the events from the last night, but she had trouble talking because she was constantly being interrupted. At the end of Aelita's story, Eva, who was leaning against the wall, murmured, Looks like a new adventure is about to begin. Or maybe the old one isn't over yet, Ulrich clarified, because a bunch of mysteries remain. We will solve them together, concluded Jeremy. The group of friends were so absorbed in the news that none of them noticed Miss Hurd's passing by to start class. She was wearing a white lab coat and had with her a blue dossier. She had heard the last sentence from her favorite student and smiled while announcing, Jeremy, don't know if you'll manage to solve them this time or not, because for today's lesson I prepared some really difficult problems. Come on, get to class, all of you. Yumi waved them by and went to her class, while Odd and Ulrich sighed. A new day of classes began. Aelita hung back for a moment. She watched her friends enter class. Then Professor Hertz placed a hand on Jeremy's shoulder. Miss Hertz. For a moment, the young girl tried to imagine her several years in the past, younger, with short hair and no glasses, wearing the uniform of a major in the army. Was it possible? Aelita stopped herself while laughing. No, of course not. What was she thinking? The professor couldn't be a secret agent. She hurried to class and closed the door behind her.
Her own father was a secret. What do you mean? What do you mean, Aelita?
I don't like
Father
this.
was in hiding.
I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going.
Everybody
Okay.
dies. The end.
Okay, no. But minus the whole Hertz secret agent thing, that epilogue is actually like really, really nice. Like really feels like the show, you know? Like it and before that I'm thinking, man, all this needs is what's it? Caddick Mornings and it's perfect. You know? But
Wazy, don't let Chronicles fool you. It is a worse
No,
Code
no.
Lyoko adaptation than Evolution.
You're right. But I'm saying, like, for a little bit, it's just like, man, this is kind of nice. But then, you know,
It's
like,
gonna book 3 and 4 go crazy. Like it just goes and goes. It's gonna be a ride.
like, I could have seen it. I could have seen that as like, you know, the end of an episode in a show, you know, in the show, you know, before the whole Hertz thing. Like, it was like, yeah, I could see this. Like the end of the episode where they learn that, oh, the return to the past makes Xana stronger. Kind of like that. That's what I felt like. But then, you know.
So the real question is when do they turn the computer on and Xana's like, ha, got him. Yeah, boys, I'm gonna win. Because doesn't Xana eventually not possess Ava and Odd, and then Ava's like an actual Lyoko warrior? Or some shit?
Okay. But imagine Xana just lets go of Eva and she's just like, where am I? What happened? Like, what is happening? What's going on?
All right. Let me see. Where do I start? We're dating. Yeah, I know. I'll give you like 10 minutes to process.
Why are you speaking to me in French?
Je sais pourquoi. I'd like to think that Ava has like actually learned some things from Xana. Like,
okay. Okay,
she's
fine.
not
Why are you
just a vessel.
Okay, no, fine. Why are you speaking to me in French? Why do I know French? What is going on? There we go.
I love it.
Now,
I love it. Why am I in a dark, cold room in the middle of a factory that's abandoned in France? Why am I in France? How did I even get here?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, Flower,
God.
of course it's so much
Hyper,
better
no.
because self-insert OCs already know what the fuck's going on and they don't need
Yeah,
to
exactly.
be caught up.
Exactly. Nah. Late in a fic.
Surrender.
Late in a. No, you need to understand. You need to understand. Late in a fic, because we're in book 2, right? So this is a sequel fic, right? By this time, the self-insert OC already knows so much that at this point they're explaining things to the canon characters. And you know I'm right.
Yeah. No, I came across a fanfic once where the premise was it was like the warriors are like, we're done, we beat Xana, yay, we're gonna walk off and talk about how great it was. And then suddenly there's this weird return to the past, and then they're back to Teddy Gazilla, but suddenly like this weird character OC shows up and she remembers everything that happened, and so she uses her knowledge to influence the plot. Yes, really. This is a real big thing.
I think someone saw Code Lyoko abridged and was like, I can make a fanfic out of this.
I think it's abridged. but I could be wrong. I don't know.
The nuclear. Remember Jeremy's like the nuclear return to the past. Restart everything. Make a world without Xana. Except obviously that's not what happens because they can't stop. I mean, I guess no. Franz is dead, so he wouldn't remember anything. I think.
If you go back far enough, you can stop Project Carthage from happening.
Yeah,
And then we go back.
I mean, if you go back far enough, you could also theoretically kill the dinosaur that caused the eventual butterfly effect that produced Hitler. Like, you could go back far enough to stop anything. There's just a theoretical limit to how far back you'd want to go. Because if you go back far enough, you probably aren't going to exist.
Yeah.
So, fun times. But no, yeah.
Fun.
I think a self-insert OC who just has straight amnesia. Like not like Aelita amnesia. Basically, yeah, no, Aelita stored of amnesia where she just forgets everything. A self-insert OC who gets like 2 full fictions into the plot of the fan fiction. So like two chapters or 2 books or something, I don't know. However you want to fan fiction your fan fiction. Deep enough that having memory loss would just be like really weird and jarring from the reader's perspective. And then just be literally the character has to relearn everything about what happened.
The good thing about
She would, Dark Xana. I knew she would say that.
Oh my god. The good thing about good fix is that most good writers understand that you already know most of the stuff. Like you already know what you're reading, like what the property is, and like I think the difference between a good writer and a bad writer on fanfiction is, especially when dealing with OCs, is like they'll use an OC as a vessel to explain everything about the world and the like.
It's a crossover you might need to do.
Okay, a crossover's different, yeah.
I'm gonna be legitimately honest. With the exception of crossovers, you're not reading a fan. Most people are not reading fan fictions for canons they don't actively participate in.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not gonna go read a My Hero Academia fan fiction because I legit am not gonna know what the fuck's going on.
Many hours reading his Dark Materials crossovers with other fandoms because I really like Damon AU's. But maybe that's just me.
No, I'm not. There are certainly people who will go and read fan fictions for canons they don't participate or understand. I'm just saying the vast majority of fan fiction readers aren't going to do that.
I think of fan fiction is pretty niche already, so there might be more people.
You're basically looking at the 1% of the 1%. It's sort of how it is. The 99% of fanfiction readers are probably never going to read a fanfiction outside of a fandom that they are in. That's on top of the fact that fanfiction readers and writers already make up a vast minority of fandoms.
I disagree with that statement, actually. But,
Shoot, what did you say? I was, like, looking for something.
Fanfiction writers and readers make up a vast minority of fandoms.
I disagree with that.
That's iffy. It depends on the fandom.
Yeah, it depends on the fandom.
Yeah, but like if you average it across most generally,
it depends on what you count as being in the fandom. Does just watching it alone be in the fandom, or do you count it as you need to actively participate in the fandom by talking about it, or do you really require the person to make content about the property within the fandom?
Yeah, but once you start going limiting it to content, you're already starting to get into a minority.
If you're limiting it to Okay, if you're limiting it to the first section of just people that watch whatever, then yeah, a a minority of a minority it's late. A minority of people will not be the type to read and write fan fiction. However, if you're limiting it to people who actively participate in fandom stuff, then you're going to find a larger number of people that both read and write it, because especially in fan communities these days, like maybe back in the day not as much, but these days especially, there's a larger amount of people that like read fan fiction and write fan fiction, like within fandom circles. And especially if you're talking about creators, like people, like if you're talking about, and then if you're talking in the circle of creators, then yeah, you're gonna find an even larger number of people who read and write this stuff.
Let me
Stuff.
all right. Let me put it in
Especially,
a bit more of a simple sort of comparison vector.
that's fair.
There is gonna probably be far more artists and people who partake in art of a fandom than there are fan fiction writers and people who partake in fan fiction within the fandom.
That's another thing
And
that depends
you
on the fandom.
probably you're the head of art department, so you probably think drawing's easier than writing fan fiction.
No,
but I'm on the
drawing
other
is
side.
not easier than writing fan fiction. I'd say they're probably both equally difficult, depending on how detailed you want to be.
Easier to consume art than it is to consume
Yeah.
fan fiction, just because it's literally just a picture you can look at, where fan fiction is something you got to take some time to really dig into.
Exactly. It's like, man. It's like in regards to. Sorry, go ahead.
That's there. It is generally much easier to partake in fan art than it is to partake in a fan fiction. 'Cause
Yeah.
there is less time investment required of an individual. Plus, it's easier to share and be like, "Look at this cool thing I found." Because it also only takes people you want to share it with like 5 seconds to observe it.
There also is the general stigma that people have against fan fiction, and like, oh, it's all cringe. It's just like it's like when it comes to like a lot of people put genuine effort into fan fiction, and yeah, there's definitely more things that lie on a more cringier area that, oh god, Dark Santa, because maybe they're younger, or maybe they're into certain things like Dark Santa mentioned, or
Odd and Ava would make a great 50 Shades of Lyoko. Like,
no,
Ava's already Xana's already shown that he's into BDSM.
Read a lot of fan fiction, and most of it is not like cringe level. Like,
yeah,
it really isn't that
like
bad.
when you
Occasionally, there's sometimes there's like interpretations of it, like they'll interpret the show differently than I do, and I don't agree with their interpretation. But like, this fic isn't written poorly. It is very, very rare where I find something that's written really poorly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, a lot of people. Okay. In regards to fan fiction, like, especially I'm coming as well. Okay, both Flower and I are coming as people that have written it, that have read it, that like, I especially got my start with writing with fan fiction, and boy, did I learn and grow. And like if you look at my first stuff, it is not a good example of the type of writing that I do these days. It's like I grow and change. I've written cringe. Sometimes I intentionally do it because I love making people. I love giving people pain and making people laugh. That's a different story. But I've written cringe in the past, like unintentionally, because I was like young and like, yes, this is good, and it's all part of the growing process, and you learn things,
All right, Wazy, I gotta stop you there because we have
Oh,
we
darn.
have a crime against me malady in chat right now.
Oh, man.
Hyper triangle is not halt. It is stop. You have violated the law. Pay the court
Exactly.
a fine or serve your sentence.
Oh my god.
I take my leave.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm not sure if Cam is reacting to what I've said or not, but yeah. I actually, now a good example of recent cringe I've made, fucking Code Lyoko, is this bizarre crossover. Crap.
That's not cringe.
Virtually
That's an
speaking.
acquired of parody. That's how I saw it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fine. It's not. That's a very non-serious fact, kind of making fun of itself.
That's
like if you were to write that like genuinely as like a genuine short story, maybe, but obviously it's not your intent. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
It was totally parodying other kinds of fics that are like I've seen that a lot in crossovers where basically the person they'll take the main character from the other show or fandom or medium whatever and then just make them basically the insert OC that just shows up and joins the Warriors.
I've done it. I haven't passed.
I would. I mean, I would. You could honestly, from certain perspectives, say, for example, steamed hams, except it's Code Lyoko, is cringe. I wouldn't say it is.
I haven't. No.
From time to time.
What I was saying is I was giving virtually speaking this bizarre crossover doesn't make sense. I was giving as an example of intentionally I made this to make people laugh. I made this to make people cringe. Depending on because like I put some low tier trash memes in there and
it's not a way that it's intent. It's a parody and it's funny. So
yeah,
fine.
exactly. But it's like
Code Lyoko, steamed hands, but it's Code Lyoko meant to be. Basically, it was cashing in on the meme. Something I wrote to be quick.
Beautiful thing.
It's
a beautiful.
It's the best. It's the best thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
No,
No,
your writing's garbage compared.
Oh man. I guess it's time to pack up and just let Flower be head writer.
Because you haven't put them throwing pizza at Men in Black agents.
To be fair, you need a certain to actually pull that scene off. Like that was an action scene, but it's kind of like trying to be like CL, where it's a fun little action scene or some to light touch.
It's such an odd scene.
It is.
Perfection, though.
Oh. It's beautiful. I will say that
undeniable perfection.
I guess my I guess my thing with like fan fiction is like it's. I feel like it doesn't deserve the flack that it gets, and like actually, something I talk about is like what's it? I feel like there's something about Chronicles that is very corporate that a fan wouldn't write. If that not corporate, but I guess ill-informed that I don't think a fan would write.
Disconnect between the original source material, and I mean, I get it. I read real fanfics where they were like, they made some continuity errors with the canon, and it's like it's normally this minor thing. Like sometimes people forget Oric has vertigo, but it's the more iconic stuff, like the fact that it retcons William being possessed for extent, like joining the Warriors and being possessed.
Yeah, exactly. Without. Sorry, go ahead.
It just feels, I don't know, it almost comes off as a little arrogance. Like, yeah, I'm gonna retcon this stuff because my take on it is better than it shows. In some regards, I think you can get away with that with CL. CL is problematic in some places, but the changes made here don't make sense. And I think some parts of the story would have been better if you had stuck closer to the canon. I've gone on my little mini rant last session about the whole Kiwi running away, being this big plot point. Twice. It happens twice. Like, it's not in character for Kiwi. It's not in character for Odd to throw a book at Kiwi while he's trying to study and he's simping over his girl. And it's not in character for Odd to leave the door open. It's not in character for Kiwi to run to the gym. It's just this whole... But it's... You can't just take that out because it's like the whole plot contingents on these events, sequence of events happening. And I don't mind when stories are like where it's this seeming sequence of events become like part of the plot, but I don't like these scenarios because they go against my interpretation of the show.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Okay, before I get to your question, Dark Xana, I actually feel like, I actually feel like Evolution is the one that feels more like a fanfic. Like an actual, like, fanfic that somebody had the intent of writing as being a sequel than, Chronicles, because again, Chronicles has that disconnect that even fans making, like, very specific AUs I feel like wouldn't make, and you gotta know, like, I have read so many Lyoko fics over the years, and like Chronicles has some very, like, I know the tropes, I know what people do in this fandom with like certain things, because like I don't know, I've been reading fan fiction for Code Lyoko since freaking 6th grade. And
Fan fiction for CL, I think since I got into the show, which was around 20. That was around when Evolution was coming out. So,
yeah.
I mean, I haven't been straight up reading CL like every day since then. I've been on and off with this fandom again, but I've read a ton of CL fandom. I know quite a bit of tropes.
Yeah, exactly.
The whatnot. Some of them
I
sometimes.
am the new student at Caddick Academy. The exchange student. I am the new student at Caddick Academy. The exchange student.
To be fair, the fact that this takes place at Caddick is something that makes it real easy for you to just get a character in there. They're just a transfer student because that happens all the time. It's interesting because this fandom also has they call it the high school AU, where you take some crazy fantasy show, high school setting. You'd think that this show can't do that. This show takes place in a high school setting. Well, you can if you just go EU, get rid of Lyoko, and just have Franz and Anthea live in Hermitage, and Aelita goes to school there like a normal schoolgirl.
Yeah,
I've seen that done a couple times.
Exactly. But now, what I'm saying, like in regards to, what I'm saying in regards to like Evolution, I guess feeling more like a fan continuation than Chronicles is that something, it feels more like something a fan would do than Chronicles. Is like, because of the fact that Chronicles has like so many specific changes. William didn't happen. They get the overbite for the first time in Fight to the Finish. It's like so many weird choices that it honestly feels like some random, I hate to use the term, but some random boomer who had never seen the show before but was just given a list of random stuff would make it like they're like, okay, here are some topics you need to hit in the story. Here's a basic overview of the characters. Go. That's what this feels more like. And that's probably what happened.
And then that, because there's this, we talk about the disconnect. Chronicles is close enough to the source show that this doesn't feel too shallow. Like, it's not shallow to the point where this person obviously had no idea what this show was. Because you can't get away with that book series. You might get, like, people will buy the first book and then they'll be like, what the heck? But no, he's at least trying. But it could have been someone who watched the show, like, from beginning to end, just marathoned it and then wrote about it, and that's it. Like, they only watched the show once. They have a cursory understanding of events.
Mm-hmm. That could be it. I think that, but yeah, and in regards to why Evolution feels like a fan continuation is because, actually, like a fic, it makes its mistakes both with lore and character stuff and like different things that they decide to do. Like, Sam is back, but I've rewritten her into a very specific way. Like, disregarding certain aspects of her character evolution, I've rewritten Sam to be more like this because it fits my story better. Or, for whatever reason, I am leaving Yumi's family out of this story. They still might exist, maybe, but like they're not here. Certain characters aren't here because I need to focus on what my story is doing, and it's like I feel those are things like over the course of my reading so many Lyoko fics over the years, like those are things that I feel like more like a fan would do than what Chronicles has done, and I guess that's kind of the way I view it, but yeah.
Well said, I
If
guess.
yeah, if that makes sense. But
Chronicles just
man,
I mean, there is a discussion to have about why Chronicles isn't the perfect sequel everyone says it is. So
yeah,
there's
there's a
reason
lot.
really, I think the big thing is the
Retcons.
I've said this. I think I've said this before, but I thought Evolution. What Chronicles is the sequel to sequel everyone was hoping for, a sequel that dug into the lore behind Project Carthage and what happened with Hopper and Anthea and all that, and the true story behind the creation of Lyoko. Well, and you know the whole situation with the government and all that. While Evolution is the sequel that's closer to the spirit of CL.
Yes, I think that's it. And I feel like in regards to crap, what a fan would do, I feel like they'd go more for this is the spirit of the show. I want to capture that feeling rather than oh, I'm making very odd decisions, but I mean, granted, I've seen fics where someone has made strange decisions, but
It's all about execution. Like I've come up with crazy ideas before, but you know, if you can make it interesting and you can make it plausible, like I think anything can work as long as it's canon plausible, or you figure out a way to make it canon plausible.
Yeah, exactly. Like, crap. There's this one, actually. Okay, I'm not going to go into the full details of this fic, mostly because I don't particularly like calling out certain people's works, but like specifically calling out people's works. But I will say, one thing I read once was one thing I read once had William as a character. It was post original series, and like Xana was back or something, and like an interesting choice they had made was like William as a character ended up being super knowledgeable about the supercomputer and like knowing stuff and that sort of and keeping up with Jeremy and explaining stuff like that. And the reason that they went into that is the idea that William himself had a lot to prove and to wanted to feel more useful by learning more about this stuff, which I thought was an interesting choice for his character. Like, I believe one of the lines they said, like, "Oh, I'm the new guy, and like I gotta, you know." And I thought that was a very interesting choice. Like, it's a choice that I feel most people wouldn't make in regards to William's character. But like when you're looking at like the types of things that fans would do, I feel like it's rooted in enough canon that it makes sense versus some of the things that Chronicles does, you know? And I guess that's where, yeah. Yeah, we are getting into overtime. Yeah.
Chronicles isn't really a fan fiction. It's too corporate feeling to be a proper fan fiction. Evolution is ironically enough more like a fan fiction, even though it was written by it was actually produced by Moonsuit by I don't know how many writers they maintained. I think they had a whole new writing team for the most part. They had some of the people left. Like I did watch one of their behind the scenes videos saying there was a guy who had worked on the show's animation since the show began. So they had some of the old animation team still there, like for the 3D animation department.
I know Sophie wrote Cortex. Yes. Sophie wrote Cortex.
All right.
And
guys.
It times up. That's
Yeah,
what
we're
Dylan said.
over time.
Yeah.
I forgot I
Okay.
muted because I was making
one
a
thing-
bracket.
Yeah, the one thing I will quickly say is that will Project Eradication be a worthy successor? Since you asked that a long time ago, Dark Santa kind of got in on this. I would like to say so. I really believe in the story that we're writing here, and oh man, I cannot wait to share it with you all. So many
Don't
secrets
look
I've
at me. I
had
just draw
over the years.
things. If they're not up to your
Years.
standard, well, fuck me.
And
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody, for joining us for Chronicles and the
Woo!
odd Friday the 13th episode of Code Lyoko, which we watched today. We will be back
Yep.
tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Ah.
for the start of book 3.
Woo!
See you all tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.